All right, we're live. Let's get it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another podcast here, breaking down UFC Vegas 28, Rozenstruik versus Sakai. Joined again by Gordo Gambles. What's going on, my man?
How you doing, my friend? Week off, we missing the fights, but I was definitely happy to have a week off. But I'm so pumped to get back into it. We got a great week ahead. Thank you for having me on once again. Let's do it.
Yeah, super pumped to break down these fights. I kind of got a little bit ahead on the tape, kind of got a little bit lazy as well, but beat some lines on this card. But yeah, it's a decent card. We got 14 fights. Hopefully everything stays intact. Obviously just one fight falling out, but we got a replacement. So yeah, some sneaky good fights, some live dogs, and yeah, let's get into it. So first fight of the night, we got Claudio Puelles taking on Jordan Leavitt. So Jordan Leavitt, 25 years old, 5'9", 71-inch reach. He's currently 8-0, 1-0 in the UFC so far. 1 knockout, 5 submissions, and 2 decision wins. He's taking on Claudio Puelles, who is coming back from a lengthy return. I think it's about a year and a half. He's also 25, 5'11", 72-inch reach, so he's got the slight size advantage here. He is currently 9-2, 2-1 in the UFC. 2 knockouts, 5 submissions, 2 decision wins, and he's been KO'd once and lost by decision once. So I'm just going to be honest with you guys. This is probably the fight on the card that I'm the least confident in. I want the least interest in, the least exposure to, because, like, who knows, right? Like, Jordan Leavitt's a guy who we don't really have that much tape on, right? There's not too much there out on him, but I can only find his last 3 fights. Like, let's be real, his UFC debut, that was kind of a meme finish, like just slamming the guy on his head. I haven't seen pretty much anything of his striking, right? I can't really find any striking. You know, he's a guy that likes to level change. He's got good wrestling, good timing on his level changes, and he like powers through. And he's got decent grappling, on good submissions on the ground, good top control, decent elbows from the top position. He's got a really tight arm triangle squeeze right on the Contender Series when he choked out Jose Flores with that arm triangle. That wasn't even really like cinched in yet. He clearly has a really good squeeze, but he hasn't really faced the best competition. And he looks as if he like kind of struggles down, taking very physical opponents down. Not saying Puelles is that guy, but Puelles is a little bit stronger. But Leavitt's a guy who I just can't, like, if we look at the line, right, he's minus 200. That's not justified. I don't really see how you can bet Jordan Leavitt at minus 200 with such a limited tape out there. The fact that we don't really have ever seen his striking. I mean, his cardio. I mean, to me, I don't think his cardio is going to be very good, because in the fight against Lewis, once it went into the second round and he went back to his corner, he had his hands on his knees, which is not a good sign. That's obviously showing that you're tired. So I don't really know where he stands. But Claudio Puelles is a guy who on tape looks very bad, right? Doesn't look very good on the feet whatsoever. I'm going to give him the striking advantage just because I've seen him strike, unlike Leavitt. But on the ground, he's decent, right? He's got a decent submission game on the ground. But he's coming off such a lengthy layoff, right? Like a year and a half layoff, I think. And he's only 25 years old, so you've got to think he's probably making improvements, and who knows how many improvements he's actually made, right? And this line is definitely off, right? I feel like these are very similar fighters. It's hard to get a read because I don't really know where this fight's going to play out. Are they going to cancel each other's like grappling out and make it a stand-up fight? Are they going to have a really like good grappling matchup on the ground? Like, it's really just hard to tell, but they're similar fighters, so I don't really see why Leavitt should be minus 200 and Puelles should be plus 160. So I definitely think the value is on Puelles, but I honestly want nothing to do with this fight. I don't really have a strong read. I think it could go a lot of different ways. It's just tough to judge both guys because Leavitt, there's just such a limited tape, limited striking tape. And Puelles has just been off for so long. Maybe he's made like some big improvements. I don't really know. I don't really have that strong of a read on this fight. What about you?
He's one-dimensional. He's really good at what he does, but there's nothing else to it, right? Like it says there, fights at Syndicate. He fights with some strikers, but he never uses it. He goes to the ground immediately, has some great takedowns, but he's only ever fought low-level competition. So, is that my music playing? Oh no, you're good. My bad. So you have this one-trick pony on one side, and on the other side you have Claudio Puelles, who should he be in the UFC? I don't know. Has he made improvements since a year and a half off? Yeah, like but he hasn't looked very good even in the UFC. Like, he couldn't finish Marcos Mariano, which We all know how I think about him, and he's 4-1 in his last 5. But who has he fought that's good? I'm not saying Leavitt is good, but you have 2 fighters here who are just completely like unknown in many areas of the game, and like Puelles, I do like. So I'm actually going to leave it side here. I think that even though he has no striking, he is very good at what he does. Puelles, even though he's a limited sample size, has a 0% takedown defense, and he's more defensive and on his back. He can't do anything off of it. Like he's not very defensive. I don't know. I'm not very high in Puelles, as you can probably tell by my how much on this right here. But he doesn't like to be hit. He's not very active off his bottom. He's gets taken down really easily, and when he goes for his own offensive takedowns, he telegraphs it so much. So I think Leavitt has a clear advantage on the ground, and I think that Leavitt's smart enough to know that he should get it down there immediately. As addition, I still think he has the advantage in this category here, even off the limited sample size we have. So the only fear I have in this is Puelles' time off and his change to Sanford MMA going to affect his performance? Because if we look at the same guy who fought 18 months ago, I think Leavitt takes him down, grounds and pounds him, finish him out, takes him out of there right away. But what has he worked on? Has he improved his fighting off his back? Has he developed this insane striking improvement? You don't know. So it's like you said, very relatively unknown fighters. But I'm going to take Leavitt to get him out of here relatively early.
Yeah, another thing with Puelles is if he can't get the takedown, he kind of just like falls to his back, and I feel like Leavitt will definitely take advantage of that. I definitely feel like Leavitt has the physical advantage in this fight in terms of strength. He looks like he's the stronger guy, and Puelles also doesn't deal with ground and pound too well. I feel if Leavitt gets those elbows going on top, he could have some success. But overall, just not a fight I'm really interested in. For an official pick, I'm gonna take Leavitt. I'm gonna pick him by submission. You know, I think he gets this up here.
I'm taking it by sub as well. I'm probably going to end up playing it because I do think the line, where it is wide, I think that there's no way it goes to decision. So I'd much rather play Leavitt inside the distance instead of his money line, which is way too wide at minus 200. I think that if he gets it done, he gets it done pretty early. And I'm also looking at the under instead. I'm switching back and forth between the under in this fight and the Leavitt inside the distance because as you did say, like Leavitt doesn't come out of the first round much. He was tired in that Lewis fight. And you don't know what kind of fighter you're getting in Puelles, who's come off such a big lengthy layoff. So it's one of those ones where I do think there's some slight value in a guy who's in fading Puelles, the guy he used to be, but it's not something I'm overly confident in.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so we'll move on. Next fight. This is a really fun fight here. We got Sean Woodson taking on Youssef Zalal here. So Sean Woodson is 28 years old, 6'2", 78-inch reach at featherweight, physical specimen. He is 7-1, 1-1 in the UFC so far. He's got 2 knockouts, 1 submission, and 4 decision wins. And on the other side, he's taking on Youssef Zalal, who's only 24 years old, 5'10", with a 72-inch reach. So he's going to be 4 inches shorter, 6 inches of reach he's giving up. He's 10-4, 2 knockouts, 5 submissions, 3 decisions, and he's never been finished. All 4 of his losses come by decision. And currently, so far in the UFC, he's 3-2. But he's in a bit of a rough patch right now. He's on a two fight losing streak. He's dropped his last 2 to Choi and Ilia Topuria. So not the worst losses in the world, but I mean, this is another interesting fight, right? Like I see a lot of people on Youssef Zalal, right? And I get it, right? Like the takedown upside is there. Sean Woodson off his back. He doesn't look like the best grappler. His takedown defense is okay, but as a grappler, he doesn't look that great. Right. And I do think the reason that because Woodson opened up minus 200, like I think that line was way off. I don't think he should be a minus 200 favorite here. I was thinking maybe more like minus 150. But it's a lot because of his physical advantages. And, I kind of agree with that, right? He's huge for the division, 3-inch height advantage, 6-inch reach advantage, right?
Terrifying.
Yeah, he's got lots of movement. He's always moving. He throws a ton of volume, right? 6.5 significant strikes per minute. And his 2 UFC fights so far, he's landed over 100 significant strikes in both of those fights. He's always feinting, right? His 7-1 MMA record makes it look like he's inexperienced, but the guy is 46-3 as an amateur boxer, right? He looks very composed in there, right? He looks like a vet in there, honestly, from my perspective. His 1-2 is very sharp. And he's at his best when he's dictating the action, right? And that's why I can't pick Yusuf Zalal here, right? If Zalal was a guy who went forward, right, just like Julian Rosa did, get in his face, right, not let him get off his punches, not let him get off what he wants to do, I would probably be picking Zalal here. But the fact that Zalal is a guy who also plays the outside, who likes to keep it at kickboxing range, I feel like Woodson's going to be the one dictating the pace of the fight, and I feel like he's the better striker here. He's the better boxer. He's got these notable attributes that we can't ignore. But Woodson's a guy who's interesting, right? Because that line against Rosa was ridiculous. He should have never been minus 500 in that spot, right? He was just minus 100 against Kyle Bochniak the fight before that, who I'm not high on, who I don't think anyone in the world is high on. But Woodson, right? He's good. You can tell he's super duper good. He's got a good jab. But the thing with Zalal is, right, he's got the wrestling upside here if he can go to that wrestling. But Woodson has great takedown defense, right? 77% takedown defense thus far. He's got really good takedown defense up against the cage. I don't really think Zalal is going to be able to take him down if he's trying to do it from the cage, right? These tall guys are notoriously difficult at taking down. So it's going to have to be from open space. And I think he can do it, right? Zalal's not a guy who's like weak on the ground. Like, he's got decent wrestling. And that's how he wins this fight, right? Like, he's got to use that wrestling. I don't think he wins a 15-minute striking match with Sean Woodson in this spot. He's got good outside low kicks, which are really good. But the thing that's keeping me off is just like against Choi. I find that this is a very similar fight to the Choi fight, right? And he didn't really have much success in that fight. Too much success in that fight at all, right? It was a really boring fight. He didn't really throw a lot of volume. So, it's a tough fight for me to call. I don't hate people taking a shot on Zalal when he was like plus 180. Where the line is now, I see it's probably more accurate where it is now. I just think Woodson should be the favorite in this spot. I'm a big guy on Zalal. I was super high on him. I've been super high on him for a while, but I just think this is a really tough fight for him. I don't really know why they're putting this fight together, right? Both guys need a win. So whoever loses this fight, it's not going to look good for them. But whoever wins this fight, obviously, it'll look good for them. But yeah, for me, it just comes down to I don't think Zalal is going to be able to implement the wrestling. He looked a little bit tired against Choi as well, and against Topuria, I believe, with all that wrestling that was taking place in that fight. So for me, it's just going to come down to I think the reach, the height is a little bit too much for Zalal, the volume of Woodson, and I just don't think that Zalal is going to be able to go to his wrestling. But at the line where it is right now, I don't think it's playable.
I just love Zalal, man. He's a great guy. I love Zalal interviews. He has heart, and I hope he does well. But Sean Woodson is an absolute specimen. This man, I don't know what it is, just ekes me out. That long, lanky frame, and I don't know. But pre-tape, I'll tell you for a fact, I was on Zalal. I think he has the tools. I think will have more success in the wrestling than you do give him credit for. I think that he's able to do it, and I think he's smart enough to know that that's his path to victory, because you look at Sean Woodson, and he uses his range so well. He snaps out that jab. He throws so much volume, and on the feet, this is a clear win for Woodson. And Zalal's going to know it. He's going to know it. Now, the only thing that's keeping me away from this is if you look at the coach change that just happened. It looks like Sean Woodson is now training under James Krause, who was Zalal's head coach for for a few fights in the past. And James Krause is smart. He's going to know. He's going to be able to tell Woodson what's going to happen. He's going to know Zalal's playbook, and it's one of those things where that just scared me off completely. Like, I'm big at the mental game. I'm big at the coaching level, and something like that is just something I don't like to see, really. So I'm going to stay with Woodson in this one, using his range to get a nice decision victory, because I don't think he's putting him away. Just lots of volume, lots of range. But I think Zalal will be able to get him down there a couple times, make it a bit closer than people think. But no, I'll take Woodson in this spot.
Yeah, I agree. If Woodson was kind of like if Zalal was more of a pressure fighter that like pushed Woodson on the back foot, I feel like that's the key to beating him. I feel like that takes him out of his element. I feel like Zalal, that's not his style, right? So yeah. I don't know. I think the line's accurate where it is. I don't hate Zalal at the plus money, because obviously he's a really good fighter. Woodson is like relatively unproven. right? Well, not relatively, he is unproven. And right on the Contender Series, like he got taken down and controlled by Terrence McKinney that entire fight, right? And then hit him with like a meme flying knee. So it's not like Sean Woodson is like very good. He's not a good grappler, right?
No, he gives
Takedown
up his
defense,
back too. That's
yeah.
one thing I
Takedown
realized.
defense wise, I think he's solid. But if Zalal is able to get the fight to the ground, I think he can have a lot of success. And one thing I will say is the Zalal sub prop was opened at like plus 1,200. That's a little bit absurd, right? Like I don't know where it is now exactly. Zalal by sub. Zalal by sub. Plus 800 now. Yeah, I got bet down. It was at plus 1,200. That's a little bit absurd because I think if Zalal gets him down, like he's really live to finish Woodson here. But another play I don't hate is Woodson wins by decision. Plus 140. Not terrible. He's not really a power puncher. Zalal's never been finished. Super durable guy. But yeah, my pick's going to be Sean Woodson by decision here. I just think the range, the length is going to be too much. The boxing. And I just don't think that Zalal is going to have as much wrestling success as people are predicting.
That sub prop is insane though, because Woodson in scrambles, like that's how he's lost his last fight. Like he gives up his back to get up. I think he's really sloppy on the ground, and Zalal knows how to take advantage of it. So, I gotta look into that sub prop a bit more because, especially if I got plus 1,200. I know plus 800 is a bit less, but that's still a really good line considering the outcomes here. Like
yeah.
I don't think there's many opportunities in this fight in terms of it's probably going to go to decision like a lot of the time. I think one of the only ways this fight ends is by submission. So I think that's a decent look. I'll look into it.
Yep. Yeah, man. I agree. So both on Woodson by decision here. We'll move on to the next one. We got Manon Fiorot taking on short notice replacement Tabitha Baby Shark. Baby Shark? That's her nickname, right? Ricci. Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. So Fiorot, 31 years old, 5'7", 125 pounds, 65-inch reach, 66-inch reach. Sorry. She is 6-1. She's got 5 knockouts and a decision win and 1 decision loss. She's currently 1-0 in the UFC, riding a 6-fight win streak. And we got Tabitha Ricci, who is coming in, making her debut, 5-0, 26 years old, 5'1". With a 62-inch reach. So she's going to be at the 4-inch reach disadvantage and the 6-inch height disadvantage in this fight, coming up a weight class 2 on short notice. She's got 1 knockout, 2 submissions, and 2 decision wins. Now, right, this is a fight where you've got to favor Fiorot here. Like personally, I thought Fiorot versus Moroz was going to be a very, very good fight. I was really excited for that fight. Bummed it got canceled. But I had Fiorot there in that spot. I didn't bet her, but I had her to win. But this fight she should dominate here, man. Like she's a finisher, right? She's 5 of her 6 wins are by finish. She looks to be very sound defensively. She does good to get out of range, using the side kick very well. Very fast left kicks, good footwork, good movement. Likes the swinging counter check right hook. Good knees in the clinch, right? She's got a Muay Thai background, good lead right jab. She's been super active, right? She's already fought 4 times in 2020 and she fought in 2021. She's got power too, right? Sharp combinations, attacks all 3 levels. She mixes in her own takedowns as well, right? And I think
She should.
Yeah, definitely shouldn't in this fight. But I think a lot of reason why people were on Moroz in the original fight was the argument of the level of competition, right? Fiorot really hasn't fought anybody of notable at all. But now she's taking on Tabitha Ricci, who has 5 MMA fights, okay, and her opponents have a combined record of 4-19. She has not fought anyone with a pro record and with a winning record. And in her last 2 fights, she was minus 2,500. Okay, so she has not faced anybody, right? This is kind of like a can crusher versus can crusher type spot. But the difference here is I think Fiorot is actually a pretty solid fighter. Right, and I just see Fiorot dominating her here, right? Like Ricci's got to get this fight to the ground. But I think people are severely underestimating Fiorot's defense, right? Like she keeps range very well. She uses her reach very, very well. And right, I don't really see Ricci being able to get this fight into close quarters, right? Like she has this tendency to like kind of like a blitzing, like just punches to try to close the distance, but her opponents don't really have anything to counter that, right? Fiorot she's got good movement and good footwork, and she's got that side kick. She's gonna use that to keep her at range, right? She's the one with the full camp. Her opponent's taking this fight on 3 days' notice. Fiorot is much bigger And I don't think Ricci, even if she gets the fight in the clinch, I don't think she's going to be able to take her down because she's just way smaller, right? She is not a flyweight. She is definitely a strawweight, and Fiorot is a pretty decently sized flyweight. So I see Fiorot having a way with her here easily, in my opinion. I don't really think this is going to be much of a competitive fight, right? Like the line where it is now is a little bit crazy because Fiorot is unproven, but I do think she is a pretty decent fighter. But I just see her dominating Ricci. I see her knocking her out probably in the second round, maybe even the first round. Like I just don't really see what Ricci can do in this spot, right? And I think Fiorot can defend the takedowns just based off strength alone. Like the only thing that does a little bit concern me is the fact that Ricci is a black belt in judo, and Fiorot was taken down by the hip throw multiple times by McCourt. But like that was her pro debut, and I definitely think her takedown defense. I mean, we haven't really seen it, but even against Leonardo, like Leonardo didn't really have any success at all trying to get that fight to the ground. And Fiorot looks super sharp in that fight. Like I think this is just one of those spots where Fiorot, I think she would have beat Morose and put some people on notice. But in this spot, like I just don't see how you can make the argument for Ricci. I get it. Fiorot's unproven on the ground and Ricci's got all these credentials when it hits the mat. But how is she going to get it there? She's at a massive size disadvantage in this fight. Massive size disadvantage. You can't use the level of competition argument because Ricci has not fought an opponent with a winning record, right? So she's just relatively green. I think this is too early for her to be going in the UFC against someone that is a decent fighter in Fiorot. I just think Fiorot wipes the floor with her, and I'm definitely thinking about playing the KO prop if it's close to evens when that line comes out, because I just don't really see how she doesn't finish her here, right? She's a finisher. And yes, it's against lower level competition, but who's to say that Ricci is a step up in competition, right? She hasn't beaten a fighter with a winning record. So I think Fiorot mops the floor with her here.
I think this is a spot where if you give Tabata Ricci improves physicality, she has a better chance at this. I think she has 100%. The tools to, like, as soon as Fiorot goes up against a higher level grappler, she's going to be in trouble. But like you said, she'll judo, but that's at 115 and against much different people than Manal Fiorot, who is just way better physical, like on a physicality aspect, than Tabata has ever faced in her life, right? So whereas I'm really looking forward to fading Fiorot in the future against a good grappler, this isn't the spot. Tabata's too small. I think she might have a decent future at 115, but she should stay at 115. This is a huge step up for her. It's something that going to make Fiorot look even better, so that her lines can be juiced next time. So I'll fade her against that good grappler. But no, this is a spot where there should be a finish in this fight. 95% of the time, I say it's a knockout by Fiorot. Let's just hope she's smart enough not to go to the ground, because Ricci looks legit on the ground. Like, she looks pretty good. Yeah. I don't think it's going to play a factor in this fight right here, but in the future, you got to watch out for it. But no, I think this is going to be a nice little knockout for Manal. Pad her record some more. Put her on notice. She's good. She's got power, especially you don't see, like, she's my favorite DraftKings play of the week, right? 8.5K. And you never see women's MMA be the top DraftKings play unless it's Amanda Nunes, right? So this is a pretty good spot for her. I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's a good show, not too boring, and I hope she goes out there and just puts people on notice, knocks her out.
Yeah, fully agree, man. Like, I just don't really see how Ricci has any success in this fight, especially taking it on 3 days' notice. Like, it's just. I think she's a decent fighter, man. But this is a tough fight, man. This is a tough fight to take on short notice against a striker like Fiorot. Like, I get it. Victoria Leonardo is probably not UFC caliber, but neither is Tabata Ricci. And look at what Fiorot did to Victoria Leonardo. Like, obliterated. So I definitely see her finishing this fight, and she should get this fight done. But yeah, we'll move on. We got the next fight here. We got Alan Patrick taking on Mason Jones. So Alan Patrick is 37 years old now. He's 5'11", 74-inch reach. He's 15-3 with 4 knockouts, 2 submissions, and 9 decision wins. He's been knocked out twice and lost by decision once. In the UFC, he is 5-3, but he's currently on a 2-fight losing streak. And he's taking on Mason Jones, right? Who's 10-1, lost his UFC debut against very tough Mike Davis in a very, very good fight. He is 26 years old, so he's 11 years younger here. They have the same reach, and he's just 1 inch shorter, so very similar size-wise. He's got 4 knockouts, 3 submissions, 3 decision wins, and obviously he lost that one fight to Mike Davis. So I'll let you open this one. I know you got some action on this fight, or you're interested, so how do you see this fight going down?
This forward to another Mason Jones fight. Like, can we take a second to appreciate the gift that him and Mike Davis put for us? What a fight. I was taping that. This is the first fight I taped, and I could watch that fight for days and days over and over again. Like, what a fight, right? And he's facing someone here, Alan Patrick, who I'm not very high on, but you gotta give him some notice. He's lost the last 2 fights to some decent fighters, and Holtzman and Green. And the thing about him is he's 38 years old. He's an older guy. And you're facing this young prospect in Mason Jones, who's looked nothing short of just a great striker with looking really good. But this is gonna be a great test for him. You got a decent wrestler in Patrick who loves to take people down. It's not something we've seen much in Jones's competition. He doesn't have the best top control, and he does telegraph his takedown sometimes, I like to think. So I do think this is Jones' fight to lose, but it's going to be a good test for him because you look at everything that Jones has fought, and he's been great striking. He's shown how good of a striker he is, how comfortable he is. And this is a spot where I think it makes him look even better. But I do think Patrick is going to put on some pressure there. He's an explosive striker himself, but does love his takedowns. Patrick does keep his cardio, but come on, Jones has great cardio as well. He's younger, he does really well. And the thing is, I've seen a few takes where we don't know how good Jones is off his back, or if he does get taken down. But he himself is a black belt in judo and a black belt in BJJ as well. So I don't think that he's going to have much of a problem on the ground or on the feet at all. I think this is his spot everywhere. I love Mason Jones, and we're looking forward to this fight to see how he improves and especially get back out there. We know he's hungry for a win. I think that Mike Davis fight was pretty close. Maybe that was biased because I did have a bet on Mason Jones there. But no, I think this is Mason Jones' fight to lose. I think he keeps it standing. Puts on a nice striking clinic, and I'm going to say decision because I don't think he does finish him here, but I think it's going to be a nice fight.
Yeah, hard to disagree with anything you just said. Mason Jones definitely should be the favorite here. He should definitely be the big favorite here. I think the line is about right where it is now. I wouldn't play Mason Jones at minus 300, but this should be Mason Jones's fight, man. Like, he's 11 years younger. He's only 26 years old, so he's going to be making constant improvements. And right, that's a tough debut to fight a guy like Mike Davis, who's a really good fighter, and be that competitive. And we know what Alan Patrick does, right? Like, he's going to come forward, he's going to try to get that takedown. He doesn't set anything up. His striking is awful, so he wants to get the fight to the ground. And to your point, right, I'm one of those people, right? Like, Mason Jones, he's taken down, I don't want to say relatively easy, but he's taken down with not the most resistance in the world, but his get-up game is very good, right? He gets back up very, very quickly. So I don't really think Patrick's going to have that much success holding Mason Jones down, and he's going to waste a lot of cardio trying to get him down just to hold him down for 2 seconds. So, and on the feet, man, like this is like he's going to look minus 1,000, right? Like, he's got good leg kicks, good 1-2s, good jab, tons of output. He just walks you down. He just keeps going forward, like, and he's got a chin made of granite, right? So I'm not scared of a Patrick KO, right? Like, the guy's not a finisher. He doesn't finish fights, especially not standing, right? If anything, he's getting TKOs. And Mason, yeah, like you said, Mason Jones is a black belt in jiu-jitsu himself, so it's not like he's a fish out of water if the fight even hits the mat, man. Like, and it's not like Alan Patrick is like some next level jiu-jitsu player himself, right? He's only got 2 wins by submission on his career. So I definitely think this is Jones's fight to lose. I am gonna stay off of it just because if maybe Patrick gets him down and actually holds him down, like maybe he does. It's just Mason Jones is kind of a little bit unproven when it comes to that aspect, but Mason Jones should definitely roll here. He faced decent competition in Cage Warriors. And he's got good wrestling himself. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he took the fight to the gut and mixed in some of his own wrestling, right? Like, the guy, he's definitely here to stay. He's a very good fighter. And yeah, I think he rolls here. He's my second most confident pick on the card behind Fiorot now. So yeah, I think he rolls here. And
in a spot where he faces a better grappler, someone with better top control, then yeah, you have to worry a tiny bit because he is unproven. But it's not like Ellen Patrick is like this suffocating top control guy who's going to keep him there for 15 minutes. I think he has really weak top control. I think he's got nothing to prove off his back if Mason Jones gets a reversal. And I think Mason Jones has all the tools to not only maybe throw in a reversal and put Patrick on his back, but to take him down himself. Like, he's shown good takedowns. He's shown good fight IQ. And I think he doesn't want to go to the ground because he has such a clear advantage on the feet. But if he has to, I think he does. Like, I think he's better everywhere, every aspect of this fight. And I think he gets it done pretty convincingly. Is he worth 9.5K on DraftKings? Probably not. But I do like him. I have him in a parlay, which I'll talk about later. And I think he rolls here. I'm really excited to see what he does. Patrick, if he did develop this really suffocating top control, like you said, then yeah, sure, we should be scared. But I just don't see his path to victory here.
Yeah, agreed. And like I was mentioning earlier, like, Jones is tough to hold down, so I don't really think Patrick's gonna have the cardio to just like wrestle him constantly for 15 minutes just for him to get up right away. So this should be Jones's fight to win. He should be the clear favorite here, and I think the line's about right where it is now. But yeah, we'll move on to the next one. We have got Francisco Trinaldo taking on Muslim Salikhov. So Francisco Trinaldo is now 42 years old, going on 43. He's 5'9", making his debut at 170 in this fight. He's got a 70-inch reach. He is 26-7, 16-6 in the UFC. Currently on a 3-fight winning streak. Could be on a 5-fight winning streak if he got the nod against Hernandez, which he should have. Taking out Muslim Salikhov, who's no young buck himself. Right, he's only 30. He's still 36 years old, 5'11". Also was a 70-inch reach, so he's going to be a little bit bigger. And he's the true 70-pounder in this fight. He is 17-2, 4-1 in the UFC on a 4-fight winning streak. Now, this is a fight where it's very interesting, right? Like, if we take a look at the line, right? The line is this. So Francisco Trinaldo's plus 210, Muslim Salikhov is minus 250, right? And I don't really see how you justify that line in my personal opinion, right? Like, I think these guys are very similar type fighters, right? They're both low volume. They've got some good power in their hands. I don't really see where you get Salikhov minus 255 here, right? Like, Trinaldo is making, as I said, he's making his appearance about welterweight. I think that's honestly good for him, right? Not having to go through that weight cut to lightweight, right? He missed weight last time out against Jai Herbert. But right, he's 42 years old now. He's got a good straight left down the middle. He's faced good competition his whole career. He has decent takedowns, right? If he wants to go to that aspect. Muslim Salikhov doesn't look that good on the ground. I don't know if Trinaldo will go to that, but he could. Trinaldo's definitely got a chin, right? He's never been KO'd, but right, he was almost finished by Jai Herbert multiple times. He got rocked a lot of times in that fight, so I do think the chin may be starting to fade a little bit, and I think Salikhov could be the one to crack that chin, right? But Trinaldo has a very high guard, good left kick to the body as well down low. Right, he's got decent power. It may translate more at welterweight now. Who knows? But again, he's not really a volume striker. But like, neither is Salikhov, right? Like, Salikhov is 36 years old, so he's not very young either. And I just think Salikhov is severely overrated. If I go through his resume so far in the UFC, I'm not very impressed, right? Like, he got that split decision win against Zaleski dos Santos. Didn't deserve that win. Good performance against Laureano Staropoli. And then he got the 2 KOs against Taleb and Ricky Rainey, which I don't think he's going to be able to do to Trinaldo, just like one punch KO him. And then he got completely controlled by Alex Garcia on the ground, and he didn't look good on the ground at all, right? So I don't really see where you justify Muslim Salikhov as a minus 255 here. I'd probably put him more around like the minus 150, minus 160 range, because outside of age, I really think Trinaldo is probably the better fighter. I think he's the more skilled fighter between the two, in my personal opinion. Obviously, he's got the age factor. I'm not going to play Trinaldo because there's just too many question marks, right? Moving up a weight class, 42 years old. But I just think Salikhov is being very much overrated in this fight. I am picking him to win. I do think Salikhov wins this fight. I think he actually knocks out Francisco Trinaldo here. I know a lot of people think this fight's probably going to go to the distance because they're both such low volume guys. But I think Salikhov connects with a punch, man. I think Trinaldo's chin's going a little bit. His conditioning doesn't look that solid anymore. Right, and it's just tough because I don't really, in terms of how the striking will go, I think Trinaldo will actually be the one pressing forward. Right, I don't really know, but obviously Salikhov's got those good spinning back kicks to the body. Right, he's a 5-time Wushu Sando world champion. Very quick, good hook shots. He's got power too. He's got 12 out of 17 wins by KO. Tons of kickboxing experience as well. He's 185-13 with 76 KOs, so tons of experience. Yeah, so I do favor Salikhov in this fight, just not at that price tag. I don't really see how he deserves that price tag besides just fading the age factor of Trinaldo, but it's not like Salikhov's like an up-and-coming young guy. So I personally see Salikhov winning. I'm going to pick Salikhov by KO, but in my opinion, the line's too wide, and I don't really hate anyone taking a shot on Trinaldo.
First of all, I know you don't watch hockey that much, but Canada just pulled off a great upset at the IIHF World Championship, so let's go. But if we look at this fight, I'm not high on Salikhov, but you can't discredit his credentials. This man is an amazing striker, very smart fighter, and he has the experience. And where I think the big line is a tiny bit justified is the clash of styles. Like, he's a counter striker, and he's very good at what he does. He has very good timing on his shots, and he has a lot of power behind it too when he does connect. Where he struggles is he throws low volume, and I think Trinaldo's the type of guy to walk him down and allow him to have that counter shot. I think Trinaldo is a very smart fighter himself. He knows how to win decisions, but the way he wins is he usually puts in the more pressure and throws in the more volume. And I think if he pressures Salikhov this fight the same way he's done in his most recent fights, that he's going to walk onto a shot and get countered. And you know me, I love fading my older fighters. And whereas this isn't as big of a age discrepancy, 43 years old is not something I'm ever going to bet on. I'm not 43 yet, sorry. But he's old. I think his chin's going. I think that Salikhov has a great chance of putting him out. I think his style works perfectly for this fight because Trinaldo's going to walk him down. And unless Trinaldo has a takedown-heavy game plan where he just takes him down for 3 rounds and holds him there, which I don't think his cardio is going to allow him to do, especially moving up a weight class. I think that this is Salikhov's all day. 255, yeah, it's wide, but I think stylistically, Salikhov, it's his fight. Like he's able to land that counter punch, like you said, that insane sambo background. He has great range management, and he's able to read his opponent's strikes. And the same way that Herbert was able to hurt Trinaldo by reading that 2 he threw down and countering it right away, Salikhov will be able to do the same thing to find those counters and put them right where he needs to. So I'm I think a bit higher on Salikhov than you are. I know that for a fact, but this is a spot where I'm not something I want to bet because I do know how smart of a fighter, and Trinaldo does know how to win decisions. And I'm not going to bet on someone at minus 255 who we don't know how he's on the ground. But I do think he rolls here with a great counter punch. I'm going to take him by KO as well. But I just hope it's not a very boring, waiting for counter-strike fight. I hope there's some action going on. And that's the thing. Like I was start of the week, I was looking at the under here because I do think Trinaldo can get cracked. Right? Like he's old, and Salikhov is such a good striker, but it's not something I'm touching for a fact. No way.
Yeah, man. Like it's hard to disagree. Salikhov, I'm just not high on the guy in general. Like I get all these credentials and stuff, but he doesn't throw any punches, or like he throws like these kicks that look really cool and are really cool, but he's not a volume guy, right? Like I don't know, man. I think this could be a competitive fight. I don't see the justification at minus 255 in my personal opinion. I think it could be a relatively close fight, but my pick's also going to be Salikhov to win this fight by KO. I think he cracks that chin.
I think he always looks for the perfect shot, and he's patient because of that and does throw low volume, and that does cost him fights. But in a fight like this, where Trinaldo has been recently walking people down and controlling and taking the center of the octagon, that it's going to be much easier for him to get a read on what Trinaldo's throwing and be able to find that perfect shot he's been looking for those past fights.
Yeah, agreed. So we'll move on. We'll go to the next fight. We got a heavyweight fight now.
The bulldozer.
First of quite a bit on this card. We got Tanner Boser taking on Alir Latifi. So Tanner Boser, 29 years old, 6'2", last weighed in at 232.5 pounds, 234 pounds last weigh in, I believe. 75-inch reach, taking on Latifi, who's 37 now, 5'10", last weighed in at 246.5 pounds. So with a 73-inch reach. So as expected, Latifi gave up a lot of size at light heavyweight. He's definitely going to be giving up size at heavyweight. Latifi is 14-8, 7-6 in the UFC on a one-fight losing streak, and Boser is 19-7, 3-2, also on a one-fight losing streak in the UFC. Right, so this is an interesting fight, right? This is a fight where originally I was super high on Boser, right? Super high. I was like, oh, Boser's got this. He's gonna win this fight. He's gonna play the outside game, and he's gonna and he'll have his way with Latifi. But like going back and watching it, I don't know, man. I think I was going to have a pretty decent sized bet on Boser, but now I see the line is probably accurate where it is now, right? Boser around minus 185, Latifi like plus 160. I think that's justified. I think that's an accurate line, right? The way I'm seeing this fight, right, is Boser's going to have the size advantage in terms of height and reach. He's not the biggest heavyweight in the world, right? He could arguably make light heavyweight if he like really got into shape potentially, but he's definitely a smaller heavyweight. But he's very mobile, right? Constantly moving, very light on his feet. You don't see that at heavyweight too much. He's 8 years younger here. He's got good leg kicks. But the volume is meh, right? On paper, 4.5 significant strikes per minute. Awesome, especially at heavyweight. But a lot of that's his low kicks, right? And his tendency to be tentative is what cost him the Arlovski fight. However, a lot of people with the way I'm seeing this is with Boser being tentative, with Boser being safe, I feel in this particular stylistic matchup, that's going to benefit him a lot. If you look at Latifi's fights and how he's getting the fight to the ground, his opponents are making the mistakes, right? You look at Derek Lewis. He's throwing flying knees. Latifi ducks under, gets the double undercooks, and gets him in the clinch. Volkan Ozdemir throwing flying knees, gets him in the clinch. Boser's not a guy that's going to do that, right? Boser is too safe for his own good. I don't see Boser in terms of the grappling. If Latifi gets his hands on him, I think he'll be able to take him down, right? He took down Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis doesn't have the best takedown defense in the world, but Latifi is a Greco-Roman wrestler. He's a good wrestler. He's very strong. I think he can take down Boser, who's not the biggest heavyweight, right? And Boser on paper, 100% takedown defense, right? But again, only defended 2 takedowns on the regional scene. He didn't look that great in the grappling realm. However, what I will say about this fight is I just don't think that Latifi is going to have an opportunity to wrestle Boser due to Boser's safe tendencies, right? Boser is a guy who's very mobile, right? Very tough to catch, right? Very tough to catch. Doesn't get in that pocket too often. So and Latifi, he's going to have to shoot like a single leg or a double leg, right? And I don't really know if he's going to be able to do that with how mobile Boser is, right? The fact that he's always moving, he's never standing still, he's constantly circling around the octagon. I feel like it is going to be difficult for him to be able to get the takedown here. However, what I will say is a large part of Boser's offensive abilities comes from those low kicks. Latifi is very good at catching low kicks and taking you down. He will either eat the leg kick, catch it and take you down, or he'll take the leg kick and throw a big looping shot at you, right? On the feet, Latifi is incredibly low volume, right? He's only got the overhand right, overhand left. So on the feet, I think Boser is definitely going to be at the advantage here, volume-wise and accuracy-wise and just strike diversity-wise, right? And I see people on Latifi, right? I get it. Looking back at it, I get it. If he wrestles, his regional tape, not the greatest on grappling. I think if Latifi gets him down, he can definitely have some success. I just don't think he's going to be able to get the fight to the ground. I just don't see him being able to get the fight to the ground because I just think that this is a terrible stylistic matchup for him due to the mobility of Boser. Boser's never going to put himself in a position where Latifi can grab and clinch because, again, Latifi's getting these clinches off of his opponent's mistakes, right? So that's how I see the fight going. I see Boser playing the outside, outlanding him. Maybe Latifi gets him down in the first round, controls him. But after that, right, Latifi's gas tank is not the greatest. At heavyweight, it's kind of tough to see because Boser doesn't really push a high pace. So maybe it's a little bit better at heavyweight. I don't know. Chin wise, I don't think Boser's the most powerful guy in the world. Right, he's got some knockouts on his record, but he's not really a power puncher. He's more of like a stick on the outside, touch you kind of guy. If Boser had a jab, I'd be super confident in this fight, but he just doesn't. Right, like he doesn't have a jab, which is annoying. He feints the jab, but he doesn't throw the jab. Right, so instead of playing Boser, I think a decently sharp spot on this fight is maybe the over 2.5. Right, Tanner Boser, not really a finisher, super durable. If we look at the potentials for this fight finishing, does Ilir Latifi knock out Tanner Boser? I don't see that ever happening. Does Tanner Boser knock out Ilir Latifi? Potentially, but I see that more of when he gasses late in the third round. Tanner Boser, is he going to submit Ilir Latifi? No. The only thing that concerns me is if Ilir Latifi submits Tanner Boser, right? Ilir Latifi is a guy who has a very good guillotine choke. Okay, very good guillotine. And if you look back on the regional scene, Tanner Boser almost got caught multiple times when he was on bottom, mounted by a guillotine. So I'm a little bit concerned that Ilir Latifi maybe locks up a submission. I think that sub prop was like plus 1200 too, which is, I think, has some value there. But in terms of a side perspective, I'm going to pick Boser because I don't see Ilir Latifi being able to get the takedown. Stylistically wise, I just don't think he gets it. However, I am a little bit more tentative now because if Ilir does get the takedown, looking back at the regional tape, considering Boser off his back, understanding that Ilir Latifi has good top control and he could just lay on him and just put all his pressure on him and just control him for the duration of 15 minutes or however, or the entire round, I am going to stay off. I think the line is justified. My pick's going to be Boser by decision. I think a sneaky spot at minus 140, minus 135 is the over 2.5, as I think both guys, I think Boser's definitely durable. I don't really see Boser getting finished by strikes. The submission scares me a little bit, but I don't think Boser's going to finish Ilir Latifi here. But I don't know, man. It's a sketchy fight, right? I was super high on Boser originally, but, I don't know. I'm going to stay off this fight in terms of a side perspective, maybe playing the over, but I don't know. I kind of took a long time to talk about this fight. How do you see this fight going down?
I love to take the grapplers in the small cage. You know that. You saw that with Grundy versus Venata. Let's not talk about it. But I love grapplers in the small cage, and I think that they have a lot of more potential. But the thing with this fight is Tanner Boser is one of the most agile heavyweights we see in the octagon. He's great movement. He is a smaller heavyweight, which is probably why he'd be able to move so well. But he is great in and out movement. He throws a lot of low leg kicks, and he just gets around, and he wins decisions, which is not something you see a lot from heavyweight fighters. And you have a guy in Ilir Latifi who's, on paper, is Boser's kryptonite, because we saw him in the regional scene get taken down and dominated on the ground. But I don't see Ilir Latifi being able to be athletic enough to take Tanner Boser down, because Tanner Boser is, like I said, super athletic, super mobile, super agile, and I don't think Latifi's gonna be able to grab him, take him down, and control him there for a whole 15 minutes. And we know what Latifi's gas tank is. We know it's a problem. We know it's something that I personally love to fade and bet against. And I originally did have a bet locked in with Tanner Boser in it, and I was really happy with it. The thing is, Tanner Boser, like you said, his tentative tendencies, great tongue twister there, but his tentativeness, if that's a word, especially in the Orlovsky fight, is terrifying, because he doesn't throw a lot of volume, and that's sometimes what you need to win in fights like this, because if Latifi's just going to walk around, land the potentially bigger shots, even though they're not going to hurt, because all he does is throw overhands, and then clinch, and then maybe win like a few minutes on the fence, that's scary when you're betting on a guy like Boser, because you could easily give up those first 2 rounds. So whereas I am going to take Boser to win, I think there's a lot of question marks around here, and I do unfortunately see the reason for people to bet Latifi, because he's got a path to victory. I don't think he executes it, but he definitely has a path to do it. So no, but I'm gonna stick with Tanner Boser to get on his bike, circle around the octagon, land some low calf kicks, hit him with a few things, get away, in and out, and just tire Latifi until he wins a very clear, dominant third round and wins the decision.
Yeah, and just, I don't know, maybe I'll look stupid in hindsight, but I just think that Boser's tentativeness against a guy like Arlovsky, definitely not what you want, because right, they're very similar type fighters. But against a guy like Ilir Latifi, who's not going to wow you with volume, and he's not going to lose based on the volume, I feel like that might actually be more beneficial for him because he's not going to put himself in positions where he can get clinched, where he can get pushed up against the fence. But yeah, man, there's a lot of question marks around this fight, man. I don't both, you know, I saw in an interview Tanner Boser said he was going to get taken down, which really would have concerned me if I was on the Boser bet, because man, I don't know if he can get back up. Right, I can see Ilir Latifi taking him down and just laying on him and just not doing anything, just laying on him, and maybe he does that, man, because even though he's the smaller guy, he's the heavier guy. So I don't know. We'll see how the fight goes. The chat here. I wouldn't touch the over personally because Latifi could potentially gas early. Yeah, I mean, Latifi could gas early for sure. He definitely has gas tank problems, but right, Boser's not a guy that's going to put a pace on you. That's the only thing I would say to that is, right, he's not a guy that's going to put a pace on you and wane on that gas tank. It's going to constantly be in your face. He's more of just like on the outside. So I think if Boser does get a finish, I think it comes later in the fight, because Latifi, he's got gas first. He's got like a good gas tank for a solid 7.5 minutes. I think it's solid, and then it starts to fade off. But against a guy like Boser, who's not going to like get in your face, put on the pressure, hit you in the face multiple times. If Latifi's trying to wrestle a lot, maybe that wears on his gas tank more. Again, I don't know about the over. I do feel like there's some value there, man. Like minus 135 is a 57.5% indication. I think this fight definitely goes over 65% of the time, right? Like I don't see Boser finishing him any more than 35% of the time here. And I don't see Latifi. I don't know. That's definitely a spot I'm interested in, but I see your point there. That definitely does make a lot of sense. But we'll move on to the next fight. We have got Montana De La Rosa taking on Ariana Lipski. So I have a bet on this fight. I'll get to it. Montana De La Rosa, 26 years old, 5'7". Oh, sorry, just fight. Montana De La Rosa, 26 years old, 5'7", with a 68-inch reach. She is 11-6-1. She has no knockout wins, 8 subs, 3 decision wins, and she's lost by decision 4 times. And she's got a knockout loss and a submission loss. Currently in the UFC, she is 4-3 on a 2-fight losing streak. And she's taking on Ariana Lipski, who is 13-6, 2-3 in the UFC on a 1-fight losing streak so far. She is 27 years old, 5'6", with a 67-inch reach. So size-wise, age-wise, they're very similar. Even record-wise, they're very similar. She's got 6 knockouts, 3 submissions, and 4 decision wins. Lost by knockout twice and lost by decision 4 times. Okay. With this fight, I'll let you open up this fight. I want to see what you got to say first, and then I'll get to my points.
The big thing in this fight is how we just saw Antonia Shevchenko get dominated on the ground for 5 minutes against Andrea KGB Lee. And the absolute clinic she put on against Ariane Lipski. Like, absolute clinic. And it's one of these things where it's like, damn, does she suck that bad on the ground to make Antonia Shevchenko look like a god in there? And it's a perfect spot for Montana De La Rosa because it falls perfectly into her style. She's much better on the ground, in my opinion, than Shevchenko. I think a lot of people are. And whereas Lipski did pull off, was it a knee bar a few fights ago? That's not something that she's going to do to Montana De La Rosa. And I think as soon as De La Rosa gets it down to the ground, Lipski's going to be in a world of trouble. And it's one of these spots where, again, we see a women's fight where I anticipate finishing because Lipski looks so lost on the ground. It's not her area of expertise. She has good power on the feet, and I'll give her that. Like, if it stays on the feet and De La Rosa can't get her down, sure, you had a great chance to win the fight based on volume and power because De La Rosa isn't the best striker. Let's admit it. But as soon as it touches the ground, and how easily that happened in the Shevchenko fight, De La Rosa is levels above Lipski, levels above a lot of people that she's faced, and I think that this is a great spot for her. I think De La Rosa's fight, this is hers all day long. I think she can get the finish here at a great plus money spot. I know you're going to talk about that a bit later, but no, this is her world, and I'm excited to see what she can do with it.
Yeah, I'm fully with you here, man. Like Montana De La Rosa, right? She's fighting out of Elevation Fight. She's fighting out of Elevation Fight Team. Her striking looks improved every single time out. There's no denying that, right? Her jab looks decent. She's got a good right to follow. Decent front kick up the middle. But like you said, man, like she's like on the ground, like she should have a cakewalk here, right? She's a relentless wrestler. She keeps going. Very good grappler. 8 submission wins. And man, Lipski made Antonina Shevchenko, who we just saw get absolutely mauled on the ground by Andrea Lee, look like Khabib. Like, that is a huge, huge red flag. Like, Lipski has, like, she came into the UFC as a very touted prospect, right? She was like minus like 200 favorite against like Jojo Calderwood. Like, she was a big favorite in those fights, right? Like, a lot of hype on her. But like, looking at her resume in the UFC, I am not impressed. I don't even think she's UFC caliber, to be honest with you. I don't think she's that good at all. Like, if you look at her 5 UFC fights, right? Joanne Calderwood kind of dominated her. Molly McCann dominated her. Isabella de Padua, it's kind of a competitive fight, and she took that fight on like 2 days' notice or something like that. Luana Carolina, Meme Nibar, and then made Antonina Shevchenko look like Khabib, right? So this should be Montana De La Rosa here all day long, right? De La Rosa is super tough, right? On the feet, I honestly think on the feet, this fight is probably still competitive on the feet, personally.
Really?
I think De La Rosa's striking is getting much better. Both of them don't have the greatest striking defense. And what people like, I think De La Rosa's striking is very slept on. She outstruck Viviana Araújo. She outstruck Viviane Araújo. And I'm not joking.
Yeah.
It was
And
85 to 82.
Vivi got dominated last week, right? Or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, dominated. Yeah, like, her striking is severely underrated in my opinion. It's not good. I'm not saying it's like she's an amazing striker, but I definitely think it's getting better, right? And I think her striking is decent, right? I think she can compete on the feet. It's not like Lipski is some elite level striker by any sense of the imagination. She's got some good combinations, some good 1-2s, good right hands, good counter hook shots as well, decent left kicks. But right, she was almost subbed by De Padua. I love Montana De La Rosa here, and I love her inside the distance, man. Cutting that minus 300, minus 275 price tag into plus 275, I think that's an absolute steal. I might even add, I got half a unit on that at plus 275. I'm thinking about adding another half unit because De La Rosa, right, I saw in one of her interviews, she's coming for the finish, and I don't see, if Antonina Shevchenko can finish Ariana Lipski on the ground, you gotta think Montana De La Rosa can finish her on the ground. Right, unless I know Ariana Lipski went to a new gym. I think she went to ATT. I think, don't quote me. I think, I'm not sure. But I am definitely expecting improvements. But I can't go off what I think. I have to go off what I've seen on tape. And the most recent tape I've seen from Ariana Lipski, she's making Antonina Shevchenko look like the best grappler in the division, right? And De La Rosa is actually a very good grappler on the ground, and I see her having control for. I see her having some good volume. I see her having some pretty much the entire fight in top control, right? And if she can't find a submission or even a ground and pound finish, I don't know, man. I think she'll find it. I love my plus 275 too. I think that's way off. I think it should be like plus like 150, plus 160. But yeah, I love that spot.
Yeah.
Araujo battered her. Montana had some good volume in the third when she was already down 2, but yeah, it doesn't matter here. Yeah, like, I'm not saying like she won the fight. Like, she got messed up, but that's just because, but we have to also take into consideration Viviana Araujo is arguably like a top 3 striker, top 5 striker in the division. Like, she's a good striker. She has good power, right? And those power shots were kind of piecing her up, but like by the numbers, she actually outlanded her. So even though her shots were much less significant, she was landing shots. And Ariana Lipski is not that good of a striker at all, in my opinion. Definitely not on Viviana Araujo's level. So yeah, you go.
This is a spot where I think we can't look at striking at all because I'm definitely not as high as you on Montana De La Rosa on her striking. I think she's not that good at it, and I do think Lipski has the advantage on the feet here, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think this is going to the mat all day, and that's where we're trying to cash our ticket, right? We're not trying to cash it on feet knockout. That's not going to happen. And I do think De La Rosa's striking is improved, and Lipski isn't Vivi, but I still am going to give the edge to Lipski on the feet here, but it's not going to matter.
Yeah, I think Lipski's definitely the better striker. I'm just like, if the fight is on the feet for like the first minute before Montana actually shoots, I don't think she's gonna get dominated on the feet and get hurt anywhere near as bad as she did against Vivi or even against Bueno Silva. But yeah, she takes her down here at will. Right, like inside the distance, plus 275 is an absolute steal. I'm really considering adding another half unit because I just don't see how she doesn't find a finish in 15 minutes. Smaller cage, favors the grapplers. She knows what to do. She's not going to forget how to grapple, right? Like she's a great wrestler, and yeah, I think she wins this fight.
The crazy thing is, out of my
4 units on De La Rosa minus 180. Yeah, minus 180. Yeah, you got it early. That's a great line. Great line. Where it is now, I think it's probably a bit more accurate. It could honestly be wider. I just don't see how Lipski wins. She can't stuff a takedown. She has a 45% takedown defense, and she has no get-up game. She accepts bottom position. She looks for subs that she's not going to find. She puts herself in some bad positions, and I think De La Rosa finds a sub here, or even a ground and pound TKO. But yeah,
the crazy thing is, from a DraftKings player myself, I have 2 of my core plays in women's MMA. How crazy is that? I usually fade that to the max. But no, De La Rosa's in a really good spot here, especially with the volume from the ground as well, takedown upside as well. I think she puts up a great score this weekend. I think she hits value even at 9.3K on DraftKings. And poor Lipski. I think Lipski's a huge fade here because I don't think she's scoring above 10 points. I think she maybe landed a few strikes in the first few minutes, but I think this fight ends first 2 rounds. I don't think it goes to a third. So that minus 180 line is great. I'm not playing her at minus 250. I will stick with my inside the distance prop. But no, this is De La Rosa all day, and let's hope we can get 2 finishes in the women's 100% finish rate in women's MMA on Saturday. That'd be sick.
Yeah, I definitely think she finishes this fight here. But I don't know, man. Topology saying 60% Lipski. I'm kind of scared.
Topology predictions are some of the funniest thing I've ever seen. So I think you're fine. I got a lot of stories of topology predictions, but we're just gonna leave it. Moving on. This is your fight. Tell me what you think.
All right, so we're gonna move on here. I got some action on this fight too. So we got Makwan, Mr. Finland, Amirkhani taking on Kirk. So Makwan, 32 years old, 5'10", 72-inch reach. Kirk, 27 years old, 5'10", 75-inch reach. So Kirk, 5 years younger, 3-inch reach advantage in this fight. He's a pretty big guy for the division. Makwan is 16-5, 6-3 in the UFC on a 1-fight losing streak, and Kirk is making his UFC debut here. He's 11-4. So you may remember Kirk, right? He fought Billy Quarantine on the Contender Series. He kind of got beat up pretty badly in the second and third round, but he had a very good first round. He definitely won that round. And this is a fight where I don't get the line, right? I'm not out here trying to say that Makwan Amirkhani deserves to be the underdog here, okay? Definitely not, right? He definitely deserves to be the favorite, but minus 150 at best, in my opinion. I don't see how you can justify Makwan at minus like 300. I know it's come down to like minus like 250 now, minus like 230. People are betting Kirk, which I agree on. I got in on Kirk at 2 plus 225 for half a unit. Like Makwan, okay. So if we look at Makwan's UFC career, right? He's definitely faced the better competition. This is not up for debate, right? He's faced the better competition, right? Edson Barboza, Shane Burgos, Arnold Allen. Is just 3 losses. So very elite competition. That would beat Kirk. But if you look at his wins, right? Danny Henry, meh, he's okay. He's not the greatest fighter in the world. Chris Fishgold, not in the UFC anymore. Chris Fishgold, very competitive in that fight. Jason Knight, not in the UFC anymore. Knocked him down twice. Very close fight. Mike Wilkinson, not in the UFC anymore. Masio Fullen, don't even know who that is. Andy Ogle, meme KO. So Makwan Amirkhani is not out here dominating, beating high-level competition, right? He's just taking steps up and going right back down to the bottom feeders. That's all he's doing here, right? So if we look at this fight, let's break down the striking. If this fight's on the feet, it's going to look no worse than evens. No worse than evens. If anything, I give Kirk the striking advantage. I think his boxing significantly improved. I think he has good, diverse variety of strikes that he throws. I think he's the sharper striker in this fight. Fights out of very good gym, fight ready. And let me just pull up the rest of my notes here on this fight because I have quite a bit. Yeah, so he's finished all of his wins. He's a finisher. He's going to be the slightly bigger guy in this fight. The short notice argument, I get it. However, he literally fought just under a month ago, so he should be in good shape. And again, he fights at a fight ready, very good gym. He should be in good shape. He's got good body kicks, good low kicks. Pumps out a decent jab, good front kick to the face. Volume wise, right? He's not the highest volume guy. I definitely think he's a little bit more higher volume than Makwan. He's only 27 years old. He's going to keep improving. And he's solid on the ground as well, right? I think a lot of people are like expecting Makwan to like take him down first try, sub this guy, or just hold him down and outwork him in a decision. And I don't really see it, man. I don't really see Makwan living up to this price tag, like at all, right? I don't really see it, right? Makwan is a decent fighter. Don't get me wrong. I think he has the wrestling advantage in this fight, right? I think if he does get the fight to the ground, Kirk's takedown defense, there is limited-ish tape on it, but I do think it's decent. I think he's got good balance, right? He's got good hips, and I think he's very decent on the ground. So I definitely don't think Makwan's just going to go out there and sub him instantly, right? I think he's a black belt himself in jiu-jitsu, so I think he can definitely compete on the ground. Cardio-wise, we know Makwan probably has the worst cardio in the UFC, arguably. That's not a heavyweight. Kirk himself isn't the highest of volume, right? He's not a guy that's going to push a pace, not a guy that's going to wear out Makwan. His cardio is okay-ish, but Kirk is a guy who I wish he had a higher sense of urgency, because he's letting a lot of the Bruno Souza fight. I thought he won the fight, but if he was more urgent, he definitely would have won the fight. The Billy Q fight had a great first round, but Makwan's not going to do what Billy Q did. Billy Q is known for getting better as the fight progresses and just walking you down, and just putting it on you that kind of way. So I don't really see that's how the fight playing out. The Anthony Bacom loss, he did not lose that fight. I'm telling you right now, that is the worst decision in MMA history. You can't make any argument for him losing that fight. You can't make any argument other than a 30-27. It's not up for debate. Not up for debate. And then his Kyle Reyes fight. Again, he should have been more aggressive, right? I'm not saying Kamala Kirk's going to win the fight per se. I am picking if I had to pick, I'm going to pick Makwan to win. Okay, but not at a minus 250 clip, at a minus 150 clip at the max. I think Kirk's going to be very competitive in this fight. I think a lot of people are sleeping on this kid. I think he's decent. I think at worst he's going to go out there. He's going to fight for my money. He's not going to get dominated at all. Makwan's interviews, he looks ready to go, right? He looks super pumped up. He looks like he's in a good space right now, and he's going to go out there. And this is kind of the thing, right? Makwan faces the top 15 guy, goes back down, fights a lower level guy, wins, gets back up to the top 15, loses, right? It's kind of a pattern. I don't know here, man. I don't know. I think Kirk is live. I think he's a live dog here. At the line where it is now, he is now sitting at plus 180, plus 165 places. I don't think it's worth there, right? No, I don't think it's worth there. I think plus 225 where I got in is pretty solid. But I just think Kirk can be very competitive in this fight. If this fight's on the feet, I think Kirk has the better boxing. I know Makwan's been working on his boxing. He's got a good jab, decent kicks. But I think Kirk probably has the advantage on the feet slightly, right? And I think he's going to make it difficult for Makwan to take him down. I don't think Makwan's going to get him down first try. So I think that's going to wear a lot on his gas tank, trying to get that takedown, right? Trying to get those offensive takedowns repeatedly. And who knows? Maybe he's like nervous of Kirk's credentials on the ground because he is a black belt, and maybe this turns into a stand-up affair. And if this fight stays on the feet the entire time, it is a good bet no matter what, in my opinion, unless Kirk forgets how to strike. But as a pick, I'll edge Makwan, right? I'll edge him. I think he probably wins the fight. However, not at the line. I think the line's off. I think Kirk should be I think it should be minus 150, plus 130 type situation in this fight. I think Kirk is a decent fighter, decent boxer, decent on the ground. I think he's got good wrestling himself. He's shown great top control, great transition on the ground. Yes, it's against lower level competition, not on Makwan's level, but it shows that he does have it for me. And I do think it can be a competitive fight. And hence why I'll take a plus 225 all day in a competitive fight.
Whew. That was some passion. There you go.
Man, it's been a while,
all right. Man. Here's the thing. Everything about this fight is pissing me off right now. Why can't you release props? Let me have my under on this spot, please. I'm begging you. Anyways, I think the best part about... sorry, let me rephrase that. Makwan Amirkhani is on my list of fighters I love to fade. Right? If he gets up to that top level, put him up there with Dusko. We'll talk about that later. But I think the best part about Amirkhani's game, other than his typology picture, of course, is his his scrambles and his ability to lock up a sub. And the worst part about relying on someone who has to lock up a sub is they have to get to the ground. It's not like they can land one punch. It's they got to get it there and they got to set it up. There's multiple steps to this, right? And when you only have 15 minutes and your fighter is only able to produce during, let's say, the first 7.5, you limit yourself on all these paths to victory. And it's a spot where he should be able to. He should be able to get him down. He should be able to lock the submission and transition. He should be able to win. And that is why he's such a big price tag, because he should be able to. But he's lacking so many essential tools. We talk about cardio all the time. We talk about all the stuff that's really important, and he just lacks that. He doesn't have a chin. Really, that's not true. He doesn't have that good of a chin,
I see what you're saying. I agree with
important as well. He doesn't have that good of striking. I think he has awful striking defense. And he's just lacking all these tools that is needed to perform at a high level. I'm not saying Kirk is high level. He's not competing for a title in the next few years. But he isn't a low-level fighter that Amirkhani has beaten in the past. I think he has a lot of potential where he is. He's not there yet. 27, he's still kind of young. But Amirkhani is lacking so many important things that I look for in a fighter that I want to bet. So, in conclusion to this fight that's really bothering me right now, I think it is Amirkhani early on the ground submission, or Kirk round 2-3 finish on the feet, right? If he stuffs the takedowns in round 1 and 2. That lines me up for a perfect under 2.5 spot, which I have not gotten all week. I've refreshed my app. I've been waiting for that, and I can't get it.
Yeah.
So that's my prediction right there. I think it should be Amirkhani. I don't like him, but I think it's not that I don't like him. Sorry. I don't like his fighting style, and I don't like his skills, but I do think he can get it done if he executes his plan properly. But I don't think he should be minus 300. Like, come on. Well, I don't think he's minus 300 anymore, but
yeah,
come on.
The market's definitely on him now. Like, he opened minus 305. I think minus 230 now. So I definitely think I got in pretty decently. I mean, I got the best price possible. I mean, he opened plus 240, but that got shot down within 5 minutes. So plus 225 is probably the best he could have got. It's just, I don't see what Makwan has done to deserve that big of a price tag. He should win this fight, but I don't think he wins it more than 60% of the time. I think this guy is a pretty decent fighter, man. And again, if this fight stays on the feet, I think Kirk has the slight advantage, right? Makwan, low volume. He has been working at striking and has been getting better, but I got to favor Kirk here at worst evens. At worst, maybe like a slight advantage to one of them, but around that even mark is where I cap the fight if it stays standing. Yes, Makwan's going to shoot, right? But I do think Kirk can make it difficult for Makwan to take him down. I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park, take him down. And yes, Kirk has a tendency to kind of get caught in submissions, right? He almost got caught by an armbar twice by Swain, but that's not really Makwan's game, right? He's not really like an armbar type guy. He's more of like the anaconda, right? The rolling back take, maybe stuff like that on the ground. But I think Kirk is a black belt in BJJ. He's not a sitting duck on the ground. He's a very well-rounded fighter. And, I in every one of his fights so far, in all 15 of his professional fights, there's a point at the fight where you probably think he can win the fight, right? Against Billy Q in that first round, man. Remember, he came into that Billy Q fight as a minus 280 favorite, right? Minus 280. So there was clearly a lot of love on the guy. He was clearly the UFC wanted him to win that fight. And he looked sensational in that first round. Controlled Billy Q on the ground, took him down, outlanded him on the feet significantly. And then, he kind of got tired. But Billy Q is a guy that's going to push that pace on you. He's going to stay in your face. He gets better as the fight goes. Billy Q is my guy, right? Billy Q is honestly one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. If you don't know, I love me some Billy Q. He's going to absolutely smash Herbert Burns. But that's not Makwan's game. Makwan's not going to walk you down and put pressure on you and outstrike you like that. No, it's not going to happen. So I think this is a competitive fight. I think Kirk can definitely win this fight. And I'll be cheering for Kirk to win this fight so I can win my bet. But yeah, we'll go to the next fight. No,
here's the thing. Before you do move on.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Yeah, huge DraftKings guy. If you love some DraftKings or other sport, give me a follow. Because, we're having fun, all right? I've won a lot of my money on DraftKings, and I make sure to monitor the lines all the time. Because the biggest thing about DraftKings is the prices don't change, right? If someone opens a minus 500 favorite when the DraftKings salaries are dropped, they're going to stay that same price tag the whole time. And whereas Kirk is now He's plus 165 in some places?
Where is he? Yeah, plus 180, plus 170, plus 165, around there. Plus
So
175-ish range on average.
he is still, I think he's 6.8K on DraftKings. It's like a cheap, with that, you're saving so much salary. You're able to go in and grab those high level players because there's a lot of expensive fighters on the slate. But you have a fighter who has a much better chance to win than his salary shows. And yeah, it's a risky one because he could get snatched up in a sub in the first round and lose it. But he also has a great chance to do well with that 6.8K price tag. I love it. I'll be cheering for him strictly because I will be very high owned on Kirk as a punt play. But yeah, I'm fading Amirkhani a lot of the time. I'm not going to have a bet on this unless, well, I'm not going to have a bet if my lines don't drop, but I'm not going to pick a side. I'm going to instead go for some fire and hope for the best.
Yeah, let's get it, man. Let's go Kirk, bro. Let's go. Again, Kirk's also got the 3-inch reach advantage. He uses his reach pretty decently. Like, he's on a small guy, right? So I don't know. I think this will be a competitive fight. Good fight, too. We'll move on to, I don't even know what to call this fight. I don't know. But we got Tom Breese.
Questionable.
Taking on, questionable fight. Just questionable all around, man. Tom Breese taking on Antonio Arroyo. So Tom Breese, 29 years old, 6'3", 73-inch reach. Antonio Arroyo, 31 years old, 6'3", 73-inch reach. So very similar. Build-wise, height-wise, everything-wise. Tom Breese is currently 12-3, 5-3 in the UFC, and Arroyo is 9-4, 0-2 in the UFC. I'll let you open this one because I really don't want to talk about this one until you do.
Ooh, okay, take that. Here's the thing with Tom Breese is his losses are to Sean Strickland, Brendan Allen, and Amiri Akhmedov. Is Antonio Arroyo any of those three guys? No. All right. With that out of the way, let's talk about this fight. Okay, you have Tom Breese, who has he's a pretty good striker, got some nice footwork, and he just has his problem in the past has been a lower fight IQ, especially in the grappling, which has been a lot of a problem for him. And then you have a guy in Antonio Arroyo who is a very basic striker in himself, not great, and he telegraphs a lot of the strikes, but he likes to play in the ground sometimes, right? He's an okay there. And you have two fighters who I think are up there with some very low fight IQs. Like, these are two guys where very questionable. We're going to use that word a lot. We're going to go questionable. This is my...
I think you're being generous.
Right. Yeah. And you look at the wins recently. Tom Breese's last win was against the legend himself, KB Bueller, with that astonishing power punch down the middle. No, it was a nice jab, but he's not going to do that to Antonio Arroyo. Anyways, Tom Breese knocked out the best fight I've ever seen in KB. Yep, my boy KB Bueller. But you have Tom Breese and someone he struggled with. What was it? Anxiety? Is that what he was?
I think so. I know he.
Was
I
it
know
him?
He had I don't know. I know his layoff was due to a knee injury. I don't remember seeing anything about that though. Maybe I'm wrong.
I know there's been some mental issues with him.
Probably, yeah. For sure.
And I don't mean fight IQ, but I mean like actually.
with this fight IQ, you probably just I don't know, man.
But I think he has a lot of great tools. I think he's a very good fighter when it comes to striking. He's got great in and out movement. He knows what he has to do. He just has a lot of lapse in judgment that cost him certain fights. And the fighters he has lost to, aren't they all in the top 15? Like he's lost some good guys, and he's facing someone who definitely is not in the top 15 in Antonio Arroyo. Last two losses to Andrew Muniz and Darren Wynn. Different fighters than Breese, yes, but there's so many things wrong with Arroyo in terms of his striking, his fight IQ, his cardio, that I think Breese is going to take advantage of. The only problem is I don't want to trust my money on a minus 250 favorite in Tom Breese. What do you think?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. Let's be real. This is Breeze's fight to lose. Breese should roll
100%.
here. The problem I have with Tom Breese is, right, this is kind of similar to Makwan Amirkhani in a way, right? Who's he losing to? Akhmedov, Brendan Allen, Sean Strickland. All top guys. Who's he beating? KB Bueller? Daniel Kelly? Keita Nakamura? Come on. Like,
Yeah, I knew it was same with
The thing with
Exile.
Tom Breese is, I think Tom Breese is a pretty, in terms of skill wise, this guy is a good boxer. Right? He's a good boxer. He's faced the better competition, right? And he's been the favorite in like every one of his fights. He was the favorite against Akhmedov. He was the favorite against Allen, and he was evens against Strickland, right? And he fought Strickland at an even price. It was a very competitive fight, right? He's got great boxing, great 1-2 straight punches, good, amazing jab, really solid jab. KB Buller can tell you all about his jab. He's got good low kicks, good movement. If you do try to wrestle him, he has a good solid guillotine, right? He always tries to get that guillotine. Breeze is also a southpaw, right? He fights southpaw, and that means that the left body kick is not always going to be there for Arroyo.
Which he loves to throw.
Yeah, which he loves to throw. He's definitely pretty sound defensively. I think on the feet he's pretty decent defensively. He keeps range well. Good counter left hand. His cardio isn't horrible, but I think he's got decent cardio. And the thing with Antonio Arroyo is, if you look at his two losses, right, Andre Muniz and Duran went, right, those are not Tom Breese type fighters because stylistically, right, they're wrestlers, right? So Arroyo's cardio we know is bad, right? But however, maybe his cardio is worse than we think because of the fact that he's constantly having to defend wrestling, right? Maybe his cardio is a little bit better if it's a striking fight, right? Tom Breese has no takedowns in the UFC. He could go for it. I mean, he'd be smart to, but he's Tom Breese, so he probably won't. But on the feet, I think he has the advantage here too. But I do think Arroyo is a pretty decent striker. I feel like I'm a little bit higher on his striking than other people are. I think he's got a good front kick. He's got a good jab. I think he's got decent combinations. His volume is okay, right? 3 significant strikes per minute so far, right? Not the most, but it's not terrible. He dropped Regman with a right head kick from the orthodox stance. He has decent submissions himself, right? Okay wrestling himself, so maybe he wants to take Tom Breese down. I don't really see him doing that, but Tom Breese is just a guy that you can't trust him minus 250. You can't. You cannot do it. Like, please don't go out there and like parlay Tom Breese. Like, just there's no like. Mason Jones is around the similar price, and I'm taking Mason Jones over Tom Breese. In terms of if they win the fight, I do think that Tom Breese probably does. I think they both definitely win, but trustworthy wise, Tom Breese is just he's a hard guy, man, because he's a quitter, man. I don't like to say that fighters are quitters, but
he was the one, in fact, with performance anxiety, as said in the comments right there. And the thing with that is, no matter how much you like, I sympathize with him. Like, going out there and fighting is really hard to do, and it's not something that I'm not a fighter. I love to watch the fights, right? We all have our own roles, and as much as we can't fit in his own shoes when we're trying to make bets, it's not something you always want to bank on. Like, if you're not panicking, sorry, if you have anxiety and you're not performing to the best of your abilities, you're not someone who I want to lay money on. And whereas I do agree that is a beautiful stylistic matchup for him because he has all the tools to win, I would just much rather play something else, which I'm much more sure about, because it is very, very, like, it could happen, that he does go to the ground and gets caught up and just lacks on the ground and gets caught up in a choke of some sort, and Arroyo chokes him out, which is very unlikely because Arroyo's not going to be that same pressure wrestler as the other ones were. But he has shown lapse in judgment on the mat where he leaves himself open to these subs, and he does lose that way. And no matter how much I don't think Arroyo's the guy to capitalize on it, he still has that chance to win, and it scares me away. It just scares me. So I do think it's his fight to win. I'm picking him to win. I got Breeze all day, but I wouldn't go parlaying the minus 250.
Yeah, like, this is Breeze. It's his fight. It's his fight to lose, man. Like, he's got the advantages everywhere this fight goes. It's just the thing with Antonio Arroyo is I don't know, man. Like, I haven't really seen Arroyo fully fight like a striker before. And again, like I said, I'm a little bit higher on a striking than you are. I think it's not terrible. I think the line's probably about right. Maybe Breeze should be a little bit wider, but then you have to skill-wise, Breeze should probably be like minus 300. But you got to take into the factor that it's Tom Breeze. There's some question marks around him. So I think the line's probably right where it is. Tom Breeze should roll here.
Good DraftKings play, not the best bet, in my opinion.
Yeah, in terms of maybe like a violence bet, I don't hate it because, Breeze hasn't really been going to decision recently. And, it could. The under is -135, not terrible. That's why you want to look at it, but just a fight I don't really want any part of. Is Strick with performance anxiety pulled up? Yeah, okay, that is true.
Yeah, he's been very open. Yep, there it is.
The Allen back losses were against very good offensive wrestlers. Seems like I mean, it is, man. Like Breese should cruise here, but it's tough to trust Tom Breese, man. But I'm definitely picking Tom Breese to win. I'm gonna pick him by KO. I think he knocks him out.
Well, I'm going to take him by decision here. Not something I'm going to lay on. I do think he wins. I think he does it quite dominantly, and I hope we get the faith restored in him because he has a lot of potential going forward, and he has had hard luck facing some tough opposition in the past, and with his mental health issues, which we don't like to see in anybody. Especially in a fighter, it is a tough sport to be in. So it sucks when you're going out there not feeling 100% like yourself. So I hope he rolls here. I hope he gets that confidence back, and I'm excited to see him again in the future.
We'll move on to the next fight. We got GORDOS' favorite fighter in the world here, Dusko Todorovic taking on RoboCop, Gregory Rodrigues. So Dusko Todorovic, 27 years old, 6'1", 74-inch reach. Gregory Rodrigues, 29 years old, 6'3", 76-inch reach. So he's going to be bigger in this fight. He's the bigger fighter coming in. Dusko Todorovic is 10-1, right? 1-1 in the UFC. Just got his first professional loss to Punahele Soriano. And Gregory Rodrigues, who is making his UFC debut, obviously just coming off winning the LFA title. He's currently on a 2-fight winning streak. You've got the floor, my man. Tell me why you love Dusko Todorovic.
First of all, I love Puna, one of my favorite fighters. So I was on him, made a good amount of money betting him against Dusko. And Dusko is one of those fighters. He is at the top of my fade list. He keeps his hands so low, and I do think he has great skills. But I hate his stylist, like his style, right? Like he's good at what he does. He's a good striker, got good head movement. He avoids strikes well. But when you have your hands down here and you're facing someone tough like Puna, someone who can knock you out, I would never want to lay money on someone who's not going to defend himself, right? I've watched that knockout sequence over and over again. It is beautiful, great fight, but I'm just not a fan of Dusko's style at all. Top of my fade list, like I said. He scared me. I did bet against him against Townsend, and that scared me, but worked out good in the future. Sorry, in the long run. But no, if we look at Dusko, he has faced a lower level competition, which is another thing that scared me. Like he came in with all the hype in the world, and he's just not a guy I want to have my faith in, right? Like he telegraphs his striking entries. Like he has trouble against the fence because he can't be so elusive when he moves, right? Like that's his thing. He uses footwork and head movement to get away from strikes instead of blocking them, right? So once he's pushed up against the fence, he can't defend himself, as Puna took advantage of, right? When it comes to takedowns and stuff, he has decent level changes, and he does rip to the body quite well. And whereas I do think he has a lot of assets in terms of good power, good head movement, and movement in general, it's not something like I hate it when lower level fighters don't defend themselves because they can get knocked out, as we saw. Anyways, enough about fading someone. He's fighting a guy in Gregory Rodrigues who goes all out. It's someone you love to see when you're betting on someone because he wants to finish people right away. He has horrible striking defense himself, so fair play. And he used to be a jiu-jitsu champion, but the funny thing is he's fallen in love with his hands, and he's got some nice power himself, right? Like, come on, nice power. But both these guys have questionable chins, right? They're both guys who you don't want to. Sorry, you don't see them winning a decision. And whereas all week I've been on Gregory Rodrigues just to beat Dusko anyway on the floor or on the feet against the fence, I'm going to instead take that back, and this is going to be my parlay piece. I'm going to parlay Mr. Jones with the under 2.5 here for a nice -108 play. You have two fighters who have a lot of finishing potential. Dusko's got great power. Rodrigues is insane on the ground and has really good power himself too. And they're both finishers, so I think this fight ends early. I'm actually edging Rodrigues just because Dusko is top of my fade list, but I love to hear what you think. I know I'm being pretty critical of my boy Dusko here, but I just don't like his striking defense. And he ate a really big shot last time. He hasn't faced the best level of competition, so I don't know where his chin's at. And I think it's perfect for Gregory Rodrigues to exploit. I do want more than just minus 135. That's the other thing, though. If Rodrigues does win, it's inside the distance, and plus 210 isn't that bad, in my opinion. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, just both these guys are very offensively skilled and defensively liable, right? That's just what it comes down to. This fight just screams violence. I actually taped this fight pretty early in the week, last week, where Gregory Rodrigues was plus 165 and the inside the distance was like plus 270. I didn't pull it because I do think Dusko probably wins this fight, in my opinion. Right, but that's not the play here, right? The play is the violence, right? Like I bit the chalk, right? I think that just because it's chalky doesn't mean it doesn't have value. And I bet the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 275 for 3.5 units, right? Like, this is a fight that I just see a very hard time of this fight going to decision ever, right? I think at minus 400 should be the fight doesn't go to decision, realistically, right? Because we look at Dusko, right? Dusko is very skilled offensively, right? I do think he's a very good striker, right? He's got good kicks, tons of volume, good stance switching, good combos with the hands, 1-2 jabs. But he just holds his hands low, right? Like, his striking defense is abysmal. His head movement's not too bad, right? But he's kind of like an Anderson Silva type guy, that style that just doesn't pan out most of the time unless you're Anderson Silva, right? He dips his head in a lot of exchanges as well. Not a good look. I don't like when they do that. But he has power, right? Like, this guy's a finisher. He's got good low kicks too, good knees in the clinch, good pressure. Chin-wise, I don't think his chin is actually I don't think his chin is horrible. I think he can eat shots, but it's just he eats so many that eventually you're going to get flat out. And Gregory Rodrigues hits hard. I'm very impressed with Gregory Rodrigues' striking. I think it's very decent. But similarly to Dusko, Gregory Rodrigues does not defend strikes. He doesn't move his head off the center line. He's been knocked out multiple times. His chin is not there, right? And I just find it very hard to see this fight going to decision. I think this is the most confident spot I have on the card. This fight doesn't go to decision. I would play the under 2.5, but I like to be safe. You never know. I'll bite down on it. But this is just a completely violent fight. The under 1.5 at plus money is not even a bad look either. Like, I don't see this fight lasting long at all. You can say that maybe Dusko has made improvements from the Punahele-Soriano fight in terms of his striking defense. However, this is a guy who got knocked down probably about 4 times and still rushed in with his hands down. Like, it's just tough, man. Both these guys are finishers, right? They're offensively gifted. I think they're both good. I think they're both very good offensively. I do think Dusko is being a little bit written off here because he came off his first loss. I do think the guy still has some talents. I think the guy's got some skills. RoboCop is pretty solid. I think he's decent, but his striking defense, I think, is worse than Dusko's. Man, this guy does not move his head off the center line. He doesn't. At least Dusko utilizes head movement, right? At least he tries to use head movement. Gregory Rodrigues does not, right? So one way or another, one of these guys is getting KO'd, in my opinion. The only thing that concerns me a little bit is that Dusko tries to initiate the clinch and fights like a Teddy Ash type fight, but I don't think he will do that kind of style.
Rodrigues is so underrated on the ground too.
Yeah, on the ground he's incredible. He's solid on the ground, great transitions and stuff like that. But I don't know, man. I just think in this fight, instead of picking a side, I just like the violence. I know it's chalky, but I think it should be wider. I think it should be minus 400 in this fight. Both guys are super good offensively. They're finishers. Both of them are finishers. They finished pretty much all of their fights, pretty much. Apart from I think it's like one each or something like that. And not to mention that, Dusko's fight versus Teddy Ash, someone definitely could have been finished in the fight multiple times. And I think that Gregory Rodrigues probably would have been finished by some of the shots that he was eating. And in Gregory Rodrigues' decision, it was primarily put on the ground. And that guy on the ground was tough. I don't know who that guy is, but that guy is a tough guy, man. Dusko would have been done by any of those submissions. So I love the violent spot here. I get it's chalky, but just because it's chalky doesn't mean that there's no value. And I think it should be close to minus 400. I think there's a solid 7 to 8% edge on this spot. It's my most confident pick on the card, my biggest bet on the card. And I'm going to pick Dusko by first round KO, but I think I can easily see Gregory Rodrigues knocking this guy out.
I got Rodrigues in here. I'm going to take him to win, so we're head to head there. The one thing that does really suck, though, is Maki Pitolo is one of my favorite fighters, and I was ready to lay my biggest underdog bet. I was ready to put like 2-3 units on Maki Pitolo to beat Dusko, and it just fell apart.
Yeah, that's
So
unfortunate.
I'm happy to see a violent spot. You know, we love these violence bets. I'm excited. I'm really happy with the spot I have. I think it's a great parlay. Well, obviously, I'm pretty biased. I played it myself, but it's another spot where let's get some violence in there. If Dusko wins, great. I'll fade him next time. If Gregory wins, it'll be inside the distance, and I'll make some money as well. So let's go.
We move on to we got Santiago Ponzinbbio taking on Miguel Baeza, and what a fight this
Caramel
is, man.
Thunder.
What a fight this is, man. I'm super excited for this fight here. So, right, so we got Miguel Baeza, 28 years old, 6'2", 74-inch reach, versus Ponzinbbio, 34 years old, 6 foot, 73-inch reach. So Baeza is going to be the slightly bigger guy and the younger guy. Okay, Santiago Ponzinbbio is 27-4, 15 knockouts, 6 submissions, and 6 decisions. He's been KO'd 3 times and lost by decision once. Taking on Miguel Baeza, who is unbeaten as a professional, 7 knockouts, 1 submission, and 2 decision wins. Ponzi is 9-3 in the UFC, and Baeza is 3-0 in the UFC.
Before we get started, I'm going to let you take over this one, but we have to acknowledge Ponzinbbio's layoff and last loss. Pretty bad knockout in the first round, and that is the reason the line is the way it is. He also came off. How long was the layoff before that last loss?
2 years.
2 years. So the Ponzinbbio that we've seen in the UFC in the past, and that I love the guy that I love to watch. Is he the same guy? Is he the same guy we used to know? Like, that's the thing. Is his chin there? What are you thinking?
Yeah, that's literally where I stand. This is just a fight where I want nothing to do with, because who knows where Ponzinbbio stands, man. Ponzinbbio is a guy who, he was on a huge win streak before he had to leave, right? But people don't realize what he went through, man. That was very serious. Like, that was a very, very serious thing. I think it was with his bones, right? A bone disease or something like that, man. It was very scary. I'm glad he's okay, man. But I don't know if he's the same, man. Because even his return fight, he looked awful, right? Like, that's against the Leech. He got KO'd by the Leech with, like, it was a great left hand, don't get me wrong, but you shouldn't be getting knocked out by the Leech with that, right? Like, so
The first strike
Ponzinbbio,
he fully absorbed.
yeah, I don't know really stands in this fight. It could have been a lot of ring rust, man. Like, I definitely think there was a lot of ring rust in that fight, so maybe he comes back now, he's ready to go, but I don't know, man. He's just a hard fighter to judge because, right, I have all these notes on him, like, right, good jab, good pressure in the center if he can establish it, lots of movement, always moving, good 1-2 combo, right? Dominated Neil Magny, who was a top 10 talent, but I don't know if it's the same Ponzinbbio, and I can't justify a bet on Ponzinbbio, right? Because if this fight was back in 2018, right, Ponzinbbio would be the favorite here. Now, albeit, I do think Ponzi's run was a little bit overrated, right? I don't think it was like the most fantastic thing in the world. I think he definitely struggled a lot in those fights along the way, apart from Neil Magny, which he looked sensational. But I don't know if it's the same guy, man. And you're literally just betting on it being the same guy, being even like a lot of what he was back then, because his fight against the Leech, that is not the same Santiago Ponzinbbio. It's not. I'm sorry, but it's not. And Miguel Baeza on the other side, who's a guy that he's interesting because I think he's a really talented fighter, right? He's got a completely underrated BJJ game. He looked fantastic against Takashi Sato. He's tall for the division. He's got all finishes so far in the UFC. Good right hand, both as an overhand and as a straight. Good kicks, right to the head, to the body, to the legs. He's very patient. He looked very sound defensively in his last fight, right? 75% striking defense, albeit Takashi Sato's not the greatest striker in the world, but he looked very decent in that fight. But sometimes he just gets caught like swinging overhand rights, which he's counterable to. Or if he gets hurt, he just kind of just stands in one spot and kind of like curls up and just blocks, which is a bad idea against a guy like Santiago Ponzinbbio. So I definitely think Miguel Baeza has holes in his game. he definitely has power in his hands, right, as well. So I definitely think violence, you could play violence on this fight, the under 2.5 alternative line. However, I do think this fight could actually squeak to the scorecards, right? Especially if we get another patient Ponzi and a patient Baeza trying to pick their spots. I feel like it could maybe go over. But this is a fight I really don't want anything to do with the side perspective. I favor Miguel Baeza here because based on last performances alone, Baeza's going like this, Ponzi's going like this, right? I was considering playing Baeza if he got to plus money. I think money is coming back in on the Baeza side. Actually, he's minus 116 in some places. Minus one. It's kind of fluctuating. I don't think I'll ever get to plus money. But this is a fight where I don't really want any interest, man. With these fights, with these long layoffs, with so many potential outcomes of different ways the fight could go, that's not fights that I want my money invested in. Unless I'm getting like a solid dog price. But the line. What I will say is I do think that this line is not going to be how the fight plays out. And what I mean by that is I think hindsight, Ponzinbbio is going to look like a big favorite because this guy was minus 340 against the Leech, right? A crazy line. So I think he has potential to look minus like 200, minus 250, especially if he KOs him in the first round or something like that, or he connects him. But I think Baeza could also look minus like 200, minus 250 as well. So I think this is a very sketchy fight, not a fight I want to be invested in. I think it's going to be a great fight, and I just want to watch it play out. What you got?
Okay. I was staring at that under 2.5 all week, and up until I think this morning, I was ready to play it. But the more I look at it, like old Ponzi would let that go to the decision. It will let this fight go to decision all the time. Like he I don't know, man. I'm really struggling with this one because you got a guy in Ponzinbbio who's been knocked out in all of his losses, right? And he's coming off this huge layoff, and that he absorbed the first shot and he was out. And I think Baeza's a much better fighter than the Leech. I think that not only does Baeza have the capability to do the same thing on the feet, but he has a great ground game. And I'm actually pretty high on Mr. Caramel Thunder himself, but it's a spot where we don't know what version of a guy we're going to get. Like I'm all for fading those fighters who are coming off layoffs who aren't doing as well, but he won so many fights in a row for a reason. He is a great fighter, and there's no denying that. And it's one of those things where it's recency bias. He's plus 100 and sorry, I don't know what he is now, but
That's where he is now, around there.
Yeah, he's plus money, and he has way more experience. He's got it's just so tough to read because the other guy's 10-0. He's 27-4. He's got more than triple the fights that Baeza has. But does he have the same capabilities he had before this 2-year layoff? Like, is he the same guy? Is he the same guy that just destroyed Neil Magny? Because I don't know if Baeza would be able to destroy Neil Magny the way he did, right? So, whereas I am really high on Baeza, I was really high on Prime Ponzinbbio as well. So, I was looking at the under 2.5 all week. But I'm just going to stay off it. It's a spot where I'm scared. I'm just looking forward to a fight. I want to see what version we got because if Ponzinbbio's back and he puts on a clinic and takes out Baeza, perfect. I'm looking forward to him in the future because I will fade him in the future because we know he can be knocked out in all 4 of his losses, right? But if Baeza goes out there, shows him that Ponzinbbio is done and not himself anymore, you have this Baeza guy who's going to be jumping up the ladder, going to be put a lot of division on notice and looking great, right? So you said it perfectly, man. Whoever wins this fight will be a lot bigger. Hindsight's going to look a lot bigger favorite than they are now. Baeza has had a lot of struggles himself, which is the only reason I'm not going to bet on him as well because I do think that he should win based on the last fight of Ponzinbbio. But the more I look at it, the more I'm staying away. I'm going to enjoy this one, sit back, relax, and look forward to a good fight.
Agreed. I'm on Ponzi here plus 115, but remember, better you can't just base it on the last performance. Oh, Baeza. Oh, okay, Baeza. Yeah, I know. Baeza. No, I'm not basing it off Baeza's last performance. I'm basing it off Ponzinbbio's last performance. I know Baeza's had his struggles, right? He got rocked by Brown. He kind of lost minutes to Victor Reina. It's a pretty bad look. However, he looked like he was really starting to put it together in his last fight, man. And Takashi Sato is probably better than Matt Brown and Victor Reina, and he looked fantastic in that fight. So, I'm seeing that he's making improvements. Yes, getting rocked by Matt Brown and almost getting out of there is not the greatest look, but he stayed in there, he recovered, and he came back and he rallied and he knocked out Matt Brown, right? So again, hindsight, I think that one of these guys is going to look like a much bigger favorite than this line suggests. Hence why it's at this line right now, because who knows where it goes. I just don't know what kind of Ponzinbbio we're getting. If it's the same Ponzinbbio against Lee, I'm sorry, but Baeza is wiping the floor with him. Baeza is a better fighter in my opinion than Lee. I think he's got more upside. I think he's getting better as he's progressing. I think he's showing great improvements. He's good stature for the division, but just a fight I want nothing to do with, honestly. We'll see how it goes.
Plus 115 though is a really good line, because if Ponzinbbio does win, like you're rolling in the dough and you're really happy with that read, you're able to get like a plus money on a guy versus a guy who has almost no real history against good fights, especially a guy like Ponzinbbio who is, or at one point was, like looking to contend soon, right? So you either look like an absolute genius, or you get a new Ponzinbbio with no chin and gets knocked out, and you're left there with one of those tickets where you're not as confident with, right? So I think 115 is a great line. I wouldn't play it at plus 100 at all. But it's one of those ones where the more you think about it, the more question marks there are, and the less you want to do with it.
Weird. Move on. Roman Dolidze versus Laureano Staropoli. Now, I don't really have too much opinion on this fight personally, but Roman Dolidze, 32 years old, 6'2", 76-inch reach. Laureano Staropoli, 28 years old, 6'1", 71-inch reach. So Dolidze is going to be the bigger fighter. We know this. Dolidze is a former light heavyweight. Laureano is a former welterweight. Roman Dolidze is 8-1, 2-1 on the UFC, coming off his first loss against Trevin Giles last time out. And Laureano Staropoli is 9-3, 2-2. He's currently on a 2-fight losing streak. With this fight, I mean, I don't really have too strong of an opinion on this fight. I think the line is accurate where it is right now. I see a lot of people taking shots. I think Dolidze. What was I saying? Just got lost in my thoughts. But anyways, Dolidze is. I think the line is about accurate here. I see a lot of people taking shots on Staropoli. I don't really hate it that much. I just think I think the size advantage is going to play dividends here for Dolidze. I think his wrestling. I think his wrestling is going to be too much for Staropoli. I think he's going to control him on the ground. He's just the bigger fighter, right? Staropoli's only got 57% takedown defense, and I think he'll be able to have his way in the wrestling. Cardio advantage, I definitely give to Staropoli, and the speed advantage too. If Dolidze starts to throw down, I think Staropoli may be able to put it on him. But Dolidze is a tough guy, man. He's got a chin too, but his fight IQ is just terrible. Like a terrible fight IQ. He's not a guy you want to bet, especially not at a negative number. So I'm definitely not on the Dolidze side. If I'd have to bet it, I'd probably go Staropoli. Well, I would go Staropoli, but I don't really have too much on this. I think Dolidze is going to take him down, win the first 2 rounds. I think the third round is going to get a little bit dicey. Staropoli has a decent get-up game, but it's not the greatest in the world. But yeah, not too much strong opinions on this one, honestly. I would stay away. I just think the size, the short notice. But again, I don't really have too strong a lead on this fight personally.
Yeah, we should get an over-under for how many heel hooks Roman Dolidze is going to attempt in this fight.
Smash the over.
Yep, he's another one of those fighters where he's got great tools. He has a lot of, he succeeds in a lot of ways, but he also has a lot of downfalls. IQ is one of them, cardio is another, and those are 2 very important things in the fight game. But I think this is his fight. I'm pretty high on Roman, other than his fight IQ. I do give him, I'm not very proud when I back him. He does stuff like that and loses the fight, but I think he has all the tools here. I'm not very high on Staropoli. Tim Means showed what you had to do against him, and I think Dolidze will be able to take him down and control him on the ground. When you look at Dolidze, he's not he's definitely going to have a speed disadvantage here. He's a plodding striker, but he throws lots of kicks and has some nice counters himself. But where he really succeeds is in the clinch and on the ground. He's got some nice takedowns. He's big and strong, and that's what he does the best, right? And he's coming up against a guy who's coming up a weight class, who's not going to be as strong as him, not going to be able to defend the same way that Trevin Giles did, and he's someone who, like Staropoli, someone who will probably struggle against Dolidze in certain areas. Now, can he tire him out and win the later rounds? Maybe, but Staropoli isn't some absolute stud who's coming up and will look the same. He's going to have the speed advantage, yes, but he can overextend, and he can get control in the fence, as Tim Means showed. So I don't have that good of a round either. I'm going to stay away from it from a betting perspective, but I'm going to lean Dolidze, and I do think he gets it done here.
Yeah, agreed. Just catch up. The leeches in the bad as you're making it seem. I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's not really a hate on the leech. It's just like getting knocked out by the first punch that lands by a guy that's not really known as like a power puncher, one punch KO type guy. Like
Leech does have very underrated power, though. That's not something you have to discredit that much. But I think more what you're trying to lean towards is Baeza has more tools in the toolbox, and if Ponzinbbio is going to get outworked and lose in a fashion to the leech, he's going to lose the same way to Baeza, because Baeza's got the same tool set as the leech, only more.
Yeah. We'll move on. Co-main event, we got Walt Harris versus Marcin Tybura here. So this is a very interesting fight. Very interesting fight.
I've seen so many people on Walt Harris, man. It's insane.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people on Tybura, so that's interesting. I think a lot of people have just a lot of different opinions. So Walt Harris, 37 years old, 6'5", 77-inch reach. Marcin Tybura, 35, 6'3", 78-inch reach. They were around the same weight, I think, in their last fights. 254, 255, yeah. Walt Harris is 13-9. All 13 was wins by KO. 6-8 in the UFC right now, so on a 2-fight losing streak. And Marcin Tybura, 8-5, currently on a 4-fight win streak, 21-6 overall. I'll let you start this one. How do you see this one going?
First of all, I'd like to get a chance to honor the boy himself, Chris Barnett. Love to see his name when I'm going through Walt Harris's record, and sad he didn't get it done last week, but props to him. Anyways, I am a huge fan of this fight because we have two very opposite fighters. We got a classic, in my opinion. You can see maybe not classic striker versus grappler, but you have Walt Harris, who is this big power puncher and who can get that one punch knockout. And we've seen Tybura be finished before, but he doesn't have the cardio, and the cardio is very, very important, right? And he's coming off 2 losses where he got knocked out in both, and he's really to kill or to be killed, in my opinion. And he's facing Marcin Tybura, who does have a lot of decisions to his name, but he's got some finishes too. He got some good grappling, some good ground and pound, and whereas I do think he'll be a class in the feet on the first round, especially, he's got much better cardio, and I think she has really good cardio, and I think he actually has underrated striking as well. Now, he has been knocked out 3 times. Sakai, Lewis, 4 times? Sorry, 3 times recently. His last 3 losses are all knockouts, I'm pretty sure. Lewis, okay, fair. Lewis knocking out everyone.
I mean, doctor stoppage on 1, so yeah, 3. Oh, I think we lost him. I'll pick up until he comes back. Let me just try to... Yeah, I'm going to try to re-invite him here. Don't know exactly what's going on here, but I'll resend him the link. I'll take over from here. You see, this is an interesting fight for me, right? This is a fight where it's really tough for me to get a read on, personally. I think that it could go a lot of different ways, right? I think a lot of different things could happen in this fight, right? Obviously, in the first round, Walt Harris is a scary man, right?
What happened?
Good? I don't know.
All right. What last thing you heard?
You were just keep going where you were. Just keep going where you
Anyway,
were.
If you are betting the Walt Harris side, you probably expect a first round knockout, right? Tybura has been knocked out, and Harris excels in the first round. Like he doesn't have the best cardio, we know that, and he does have a lot of power. So if you're betting Harris, you're assuming round 1, round 2 knockout, correct? Meanwhile, you look at the Tybura side, and you're either going to grind up for a decision or you're going to try your best. Like I think if you're betting Tybura, you're relying on him to take down and wear on Harris, right? What really surprised me about the spot is the under 2.5 is -138. It is not that juiced, especially if a lot of people are on Harris and they think Harris is going to win. I do think that's going to happen in the first few rounds. Like, he's got Harris has got a ton of power, and he slows down so much after round one. So it's either one of those spots where it's Harris early, Tybura late, and I don't know. I'm loving my under 2.5 here. I think if Harris doesn't get him out of round one, it's going to look a lot like the Hardy fight where Tybura finishes in round two when he gasses out. So I don't know. We're going to go with that one. I'm not going to bet on any money lines, but I would live bet Tybura after round one. But I'm going to play the under 2.5 at -138.
Fair. Okay, I'm going to disagree slightly on this one. Now, I agree a lot with what you were saying. I think Harris, all of his wins are by KO in either the first or second round, right? However, I'm going to slightly disagree about his cardio. I don't think his cardio is not good. Okay, I'm not saying his cardio is good, but I feel like a lot of people are making it out to be like, well, Harris just can't even do anything after the fight gets past the first round. And I disagree. I think he's still in the fight. I think his volume definitely gets worse and worse, which is not a good sign. Definitely is getting tired. But I don't think he's dead in the water if the fight goes on. We've seen him get second round finishes before. And if we look at Walt Harris, man, if we look at his record, right? Volkov, I thought he looked okay in that fight. I thought he looked okay. I mean, Volkov is an elite level guy, right? Volkov is one of the best fighters in the heavyweight division. Alistair Overeem, that fight could have arguably been stopped. I mean, he had a huge adrenaline dump in that fight, which is unfortunate for him, and he went on to lose that fight. Knocks out Oleinik in the first 12 seconds, knocks out Spivak, beats Arlovsky in a decision. I know that was a no contest due to the fact that he tested positive for some sort of steroids, but he won that fight. It was a close competitive fight. Could have gone either way, in my opinion, if I'm remembering correctly. Knocked out Spitz in the second round. Got DQ'd against Mark Godbeer right, an illegal kick in a fight he was winning. Got submitted by Verdum. Yada yada yada. Went to a decision with Shamil Makimov in a competitive fight as well. So Walt Harris can go to a decision, and it's not like he's getting blown out if these fights are going to decision. So do I think he's going to win a decision? No, I don't. But I think he is going to knock out Marcin Tybura. Okay, and the thing with Marcin Tybura, I think Marcin Tybura. This isn't even me being high on Walt Harris. I just think Marcin Tybura is not that good of a fighter. I don't really see why people think. I think his run is being incredibly overrated. If we look at his run here, right? Before he started that run, this guy was on the chopping block. Okay, he was fighting for his job. Okay, then he beat Sergey Spivak. Not arguably. I think that's the best win on his record in that 4-fight winning streak. However, that was a younger Spivak, right? Definitely not the power striking capabilities of Walt Harris. Then he beats Maxim Grishin, short notice replacement, 205 or arguably a 185. That guy he's not a heavyweight. Okay, he's definitely not a heavyweight. Then he beats Ben Rothwell. And I see a lot of people rating that win. I really don't. I think Ben Rothwell looked absolutely terrible in that fight. Ben Rothwell just ran at him with little punches and was just there to be hit. He was there to be hit. He was playing no defense. He just tried to get him out of there, but he wasn't really throwing any powerful shots. And he looked very bad in that fight, in my opinion. So I don't really rate that win that high at all. I think Walt Harris would have absolutely destroyed Ben Rothwell if he was doing that against him. And then the win against Greg Hardy, that was a fight where he was getting dominated on the first round. Greg Hardy kind of gassed out. He got the takedown. Right? Now, could that happen here? 100% that could happen here, right? Personally, I capped this fight close to a 50-50. I think Walt Harris is definitely live to get this guy out of here. Do I think Marcin Tybura is this completely chinny guy? No, I think his chin has kind of came back to life a little bit, right? He hasn't been knocked in a while. So I don't think he's completely chinny, but his striking defense is it's not good. Okay, it's not. No one is going to tell me that he's not going to eat shots, and he's going to have to eat shots, especially in that first round. He does not have good striking defense. He doesn't even have okay striking defense. I don't think his striking defense is that good at all. I also don't think his cardio is fantastic. I see a lot of people think he has an immense cardio edge here. Does he have the cardio edge? Yeah, he does. But his cardio isn't fantastic, especially when he wrestles a bunch, right? If this fight stays on the feet for 15 minutes, which I don't think it will, but if it does, it's going to be close, right? Well, we've seen that Walt Harris in striking matches is close with guys like Shamil Abdurakhimov, is close with Andrei Arlovsky, so I don't really see why it wouldn't be here. when he tries to grapple a lot, he gets tired, right? He does. I don't remember. I think it was the Andrei Arlovsky fight. I'm not 1,000,000% sure. Don't know if I have it here. Yeah, he looked very tired in the Arlovsky fight. Very tired, right? But he did take down Arlovsky a lot of times, and Arlovsky is a difficult guy to take down and hold down. I do think he's a very good grappler. Walt Harris is a guy that has 72% takedown defense. He has okay get-ups, right? I do think Tybura probably does get him down, especially if this fight gets extended. I think Tybura is definitely live. If this fight, I am not saying that Walt Harris is going to win this fight if it gets extended. I favor Tybura if this fight gets extended. I just don't know if it does get extended. I think Walt Harris is going to land on Marcin Tybura's chin multiple times in that first round. I think that's inevitable. I think he's way more explosive. He's way faster, and Marcin Tybura is very defensively liable. Very defensively liable. Walt Harris is also taking a massive step down in competition here. He's going from facing arguably one of the best, arguably a top 3 heavyweight in my opinion, one of the 3 best heavyweights in the UFC right now, and then a guy like Alistair Overeem in a fight that he very well could have won. He very well could have won that fight if he didn't have a massive adrenaline dump, right? And then I go back on the Marcin Tybura side, and it's just, where is all this Marcin Tybura love coming from? Why is he the exact same line as what Volkov was against him? Now, albeit Volkov should not have been that low against him. He definitely should have been higher, but why is he a minus 190 in some places? What is Marcin Tybura proving to people? I don't see it. I don't get it. Like the Greg Hardy fight, I mean, I think that's where it's coming from. They think it's going to go very similar to that fight, which I kind of understand why, but I do think if Walt Harris lands all those shots that Greg Hardy lands on Tybura, I think he puts him out. I think he's way more powerful than Greg Hardy, and I think Greg Hardy just made some crucial mistakes in that second round. Crucial mistakes in that second round. Like if we go before his streak, right? He got KO'd by Sakai. Terrible defensive tendencies in that fight, by the way. He gets knocked out by Shamil Abdurmakimov. Again, that didn't even look like that hard of a shot, and he looked completely wobbled. But again, this was a while ago. Derek Lewis knocks him out. Okay, it's Derek Lewis. It happens. He beats Stefan Struve. He goes on a streak here where he loses 4 of his last 5, and he's fighting for his job, right? This is a guy that I know a lot of people were trying to fade against Greg Hardy. I know a lot of people were trying to fade him against Greg Hardy. I know a lot of people were backing Ben Rothwell against him as well. So, again, I feel like this is one of the most unpredictable fights on this card in terms of I see a lot of different things can happen. I'm not going to play the Walt Harris money line because I do think in hindsight Marcin Tybura could look minus 250 if he gets out of that first round and the fight goes as a lot of people are making it out to be. However, I think Walt Harris gets him out of there in the first or second round. Honestly, I don't think Walt Harris is a KO round 1 or bust type fighter. In this fight, at least, I think I don't know, man. His power and his volume definitely fades as fights go on, but Marcin Tybura is so defensively liable that at plus 275 for Walt Harris by KO, I think that's a great price, man. That's close to what like a 27% indication that he gets a knockout in this fight. Like I think he definitely gets it at least 35-40% of the time in this fight, in my opinion. I think it's a close fight. I think if Marcin Tybura wins this fight, I'm 100%. I don't care who it is. I'm fading him in the next fight because I know it's going to be a step up. I'll take a lot of people over Marcin Tybura. I just don't see what people see in this guy, unless it's just like a fade on Walt on the cardio or whatever. But I think Marcin Tybura's run is completely overrated. I think he's an okay grappler. Don't get me wrong. He's decent, but he's counterable. Right, he doesn't defend. His striking defense is very subpar, and I think it could go either way. And I'm going to take Walt Harris at plus 275 by KO, most likely.
I still think that when it comes to styles, though, that other than that knockout, like if Tybura gets him on the ground, it's game over. Like, I think that Harris's takedown defense is a bit padded. I think that Tybura will be easily able to get him down there if he survives the early onslaught. Like Harris does have that knockout that's going to be there the whole fight, and that's why I'm not betting Tybura straight, because we know that Harris would be able to knock him out. It's just if he doesn't, what happens? Like it's a big question mark, because if it goes to the ground, like he's done. That's my thought right there. If it's on the feet, if he stays on the feet and doesn't take him down, Harris will knock him out, because, like you said, those striking defense tendencies is like he leaves himself open. He will get knocked out. But if it goes to the ground, I think he finishes Harris, right? And I think the thing is, who has Harris really like beat in a good win, right? Like I think that Harris is a bit overrated in my opinion. And no offense to him, Like, I know he's gone through a lot of things, but he was used in a main event because of his knockout upside and because of his I'm gonna say it sound like a dick like saying that, but his stepdaughter, right? He's a storyline. He doesn't have, like, he's a good boxer, he's a good kickboxer, but he's not a grappler. He's not a fully rounded MMA fighter. He's like a beta Derek Lewis, in my opinion. And I don't think that he should be, like, I just don't see, other than that knockout, like, how he wins, like, especially long term. Like, I think he's kill or to be killed, which is why I love my under in the spot.
Yeah, I mean, the under seems fine. I would be, if you're on the Tybura side, I'm a little bit worried because I do think Tybura late third round is a little dangerous. But I'm not high on Walt Harris. I don't think he's like some super guy, but I don't think Marcin Tybura is that much better. I don't really see why he's made out to be a minus 170 favorite in this fight. Minus 170 favorite. You're telling me that this guy is not going to get knocked out at least like 4 times if they fought? Like, I don't know, man. I don't really see it. Like, his win streak is not impressive to me. I mean, his grappling upside is there, but again,
it's like you said, it's one of those fights where you look back on it and it's either, if he gets knocked out early, Harris should look like a huge favorite, but if it goes to the ground, Tybura could look like minus 400. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, and I think if Walt Harris is able to stuff the takedowns or get up right away, and this fight stays on the feet, like, I don't like Marcin Tybura. Sure, he throws more volume, but I don't want to be backing a minus 1. Like, in order to back Tybura, you have to think that he's going to go out there, he's just going to take him down and finish him.
That's my thought.
Yeah, which is definitely there. Like, I'm not saying that's not there at all, but at a minus 170 price tag, I don't get that. I disagree.
And I agree.
But I'm just gonna. I haven't bet this fight yet. I don't know, man, because this fight's all over for me. Like, 1 second I'm on, like, I don't know, but plus 275 is tempting. But again, fights that go like back and forth like this for me, like, I kind of just want to like avoid. But plus 275 Walt Harris KO, man, like, I think that's being severely undervalued. I think he's gonna have 2 rounds. I don't think he's gonna knock one in the 3rd round. I think he'll have 2 rounds to do it. Tybura's there to be hit. Bad striking defense, slow. Doesn't defend them properly either. Like, his defense isn't proper, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe sprinkle the KO, but honestly, not.
I agree with everything you're saying.
Not overly interested in this fight.
I agree with everything you're saying. I just think that there is more potential for a Tybura finish than I think you give credit for, because I think Harris just struggles a lot off his back, and I don't think his takedown defense is that good. He's got good hips and he can defend the double leg, but he doesn't have the best balance, really, like, in terms of like single legs or clinch trips. And I think as soon as it gets down there, it's not going to be too hard for Tybura to land some ground and pound and get him out of there.
Fair enough. Move on to the main event now.
Completely opposite.
The main event that everybody asked for: Jairzinho Rozenstruik taking on Augusto Sakai. So I got a couple plays on this fight. So Augusto Sakai, Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Rozenstruik 33, 6'4". He's not 6'4". Last weighed in at 254.5. It looks like 78-inch reach. Augusto Sakai 36'3". Don't get the heights wrong. Augusto Sakai is the bigger fighter, for sure, and he's got a 77-inch reach. So Rozenstruik 11-2. He's got Rozenstruik 11-2, 10 knockouts and a decision win. He's been KO'd once and lost by decision once. Augusto Sakai is 15-2-1. He's got 11 knockouts and 4 decisions. 1 knockout loss, 1 decision loss. Now, this is an interesting fight, right? Jairzinho Rozenstruik is a guy that, right, we know he's got great power, right? We know he's got big time power, but he's so low volume, man. 42 strikes through 25 in his last fight is shocking. And his striking defense, I don't think people realize how bad it is. It's 39% so far in the UFC, which is shocking. Very bad striking defense. Now, he has lost to 2 very good fighters so far, right? Francis Ngannou. I mean, I don't really hold any stock into that at all. Like, what are you supposed to do if Francis Ngannou is winging those punches at you? And then Cyril Gane, who's honestly a very, very good fighter. I'm very high on Cyril Gane. Now, he does swing heavy when he goes forward. He's a counter striker, right? He throws big swinging hooks. He's got a good low kick, really good left inside low kick or outside low kick. And his last fight, right, it could have been more him just struggling to get onto the inside rather than him being lower volume, because Gon's a tough guy to figure out, right? It's tough to fight Cyril Gon. Like, we know this. But if you look at his wins, like, right, he's a really tough guy to judge. Really tough guy to judge, because looking at his resume in the UFC so far, right? Cyril Gon, right? Tough fight. Junior Dos Santos, one of the chinniest guys at that point in time. And I think he was losing that fight up until that point. And Ngannou, don't hold too much into that. Overeem, he basically lost that fight until the end. Although I do think he's being a little bit discredited for what he did in that fight. I think he was a little bit more competitive than people were thinking. I think he had some decent success in the feet, but he was definitely losing up until that point. Arlovsky, I don't know what Arlovsky was doing in that fight, just ran at him. Alan Crowder got knocked out by literally like an actual, not even a power jab. So I don't know what that fight was. And then Junior Albini. But it wasn't even a power one. It was just like, it was a little poke. And then Junior Albini, who was losing. Now, everything leads to Sakai, right? And I'm on Sakai. I think Sakai probably wins the fight. But, right, you probably favor Sakai just because he throws, right? He throws more. And if you're on Rozenstruik, you think he's got 25 minutes to find a KO punch. He probably finds a KO punch. That's pretty much how I see the two sides going. Now, I'm on the Sakai side where he's coming off his first UFC loss. He went into deep territories for the first time in his career. Alistair Overeem told him that this is the big business, right? You can't just run through people here. But that was a fight that he was looking pretty solid in. However, I don't really hold too much stock into how he was performing in the first 3 rounds, because Overeem's a guy that's just going to like go back up against the fence and just block the punches, right? So Sakai can just hands down come in and land his punches. Against Rozenstruik, you're probably going to get caught doing that. This guy counters, right? So I don't hold too much stock into that, honestly. He's got decent movement, good right hand, good combinations, good body shots in the clinch. He does kind of keep his hands down when he blitzes forward, though, and that's what's keeping me off the Sakai money line, right? You think that Sakai should be the side here because he throws volume. You think he out-volumes Jairzinho into a decision. But I'm telling you, I'm a little bit nervous that because he's not Cyril Gon, right? He's not just going to play the outside and be super defensively intelligent. This is a guy who kind of puts his hands down when he rushes in, and he's there to be countered, right? He's shown that to be durable, right? He's eaten some big shots. He's never actually been KO'd. So he's definitely got some big shots in him. He likes the high kick. He's got a very kick-heavy approach. So his UFC career is a little bit interesting, right? Like, he obviously had that loss against Overeem. He beat Blagoy in a fight who's very controversial, right? He probably would have lost the fight if he got taken down. He knocks out Marcin Tybura. He beats Arlovsky in a decision in a fight he should have lost, and then he beats Chase Sherman, right? This is just a really tough fight to get a read on because Sakai should be the side, but I just feel like Rozenstruik can find that blow with how defensively liable Sakai is at times. Now, I don't think Sakai is like going to get KO'd. I think Sakai wins the fight. And the 2 plays I have on this fight, I have 2.5 units on the over 1.5 at minus 170. I really love that spot because both of these guys engage in that feeling out process in round 1, right? In all of their fights, they engage in that feeling out process, right? They play it slow, they feel each other out, they find each other's range, and that kills 5 minutes off the clock right away. So now I've only got 2.5 more minutes of sweat, and then Rozenstruik can do whatever he wants if he connects. So I love that spot. And I also have a small sprinkle, 0.5 units on Sakai by decision. I think plus 350 is way off. I think Sakai, if he wins this fight, I think it's by decision, right? I don't really see Sakai knocking him out. I know Sakai's got power and stuff, but right, he's not finishing like I know Blagoy Ivanov is a very tough and durable guy. Same with Arlovsky, but he's not finishing Arlovsky. Rozenstruik's a tough guy, man. This guy eats big shots, right? Like that knockout against Ngannou, like that's not saying he's chinny. Like that's Francis Ngannou. He knocks out everybody. So I think Sakai plus 350 by decision is a pretty solid spot, personally. I think this fight's probably going to go all 5 rounds. I think it's going to be a very boring fight, but I can't bet myself to bet the Sakai money line just because of the fact that he does leave his hands kind of up in the air when he goes in. He's not like a Cyril Gon who's super technical, picks his shots, get back out of the pocket. He kind of leaves himself there to be countered. So my pick's going to be Augusto Sakai by decision, but I wouldn't touch it from a money line perspective. I like the over 1.5, over 2.5 is pretty decent. over 3.5 and 4.5 kind of gets a little bit more sketchy, giving Rozenstruik that much time. But I think Sakai wins the decision here.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think when you look at the Rozenstruik versus Gain fight, is he had to worry about takedowns too, and he's not gonna have to worry about Sakai doing takedowns here too.
Yeah, he could,
so I do
man.
think
He could. Don't sleep on a potential Sakai wrestling approach.
I wouldn't, but what I'm trying to say is it's going to be less prevalent.
Yeah,
And the thing
agreed.
is that I do think there'll be a little bit more action. I do think it's going to be a relatively boring fight still, unfortunately. But I'm going to bank on that feeling out process the same way you did, except for I'm getting a little bit more risky. I'm going with the over 2.5 instead of 1.5, just for that feeling out process because they're both slower starters. They like their big power shots. Well, more Jairzinho. Sakai doesn't have as much power. But I think they're just going to take their time to feel each other out, unfortunately, because I would love to see a knockout. Well, not for my money. Maybe give me a knockout like round 4. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think you're completely right with the decision because even though Jairzinho is marketed as this big knockout guy, he hasn't been able to find the mark unless he gets that perfect counter, which I don't think Sakai is going to leave himself open to that much because like Jairzinho is really easy. Like he's so predictable. If you have great striking defense and all you do is outpoint him with a little bit more volume, you win. Or if you have the chin of Francis Ngannou and you blitz in there, that's another story. It's one of those guys where I love Rozenstruik and I think that he has a lot of power. He struggles as a mixed martial artist because he has that constant worry of being taken down. And even though it is possible in this fight, I don't think it happens. So hopefully we see a little bit more action. I am going to pick Rozenstruik for a late knockout just because I think he's got more power and all it takes is one shot, especially at heavyweight. But I'm really torn 50-50. I have no idea. I'm just going to stick with my over and go with that. It's not something I'm really going to touch.
Yeah, agreed. I definitely see that, man. I think Rozenstruik is definitely live to get that finish. Over 25 minutes. I just don't think Sakai is going to finish him. I think Rozenstruik's got a good chin, so I like my spots. And yeah, man, that's the card, right? I'll go over the bets that we've got locked in and potential bets. So I think that's up. Is that good? Yeah. So these are my bets so far. I've got half a unit on Kamwela Kirk at plus 225. Explained that earlier. I think the line's too wide. I think Kirk's going to make it competitive. I think he can get the win here. I think regardless of even if he loses this fight, I think he's going to put on a good fight, and I think this guy's UFC caliber. I don't think this is a bottom of the field, bottom of the guys, just a random step short notice guy. So I don't hate that there. This spot here at plus 225. Got 2.5 units at minus 170 here in the over 1.5 rounds. I like that spot a bunch, unless they could both get way more aggressive. I think that hits most of the time here, because I think the first round is going to be a big feeling out process. I've also got Sakai wins by decision, 0.5 units at plus 350. Think that lines off as well. Think that's how he wins. I got Montana De La Rosa inside the distance, 0.5 units at plus 275. I'm very much considering adding another half unit to that. I really think Montana De La Rosa probably gets this done inside the distance. She's going to have top time. She's going to have control time for a good portion of this fight. It's hard to me to imagine that if Antonio Shevchenko can get a finish, that Montana De La Rosa can't get a finish, unless Lipski's made some big improvements. I may be adding some more on that, but I like to spot a bunch, especially at the number. And then I got a big 3.5 unit play here at minus 275 on Rodrigues. Dusko doesn't go to the decision. I think the only way this fight, I don't think Rodrigues wins the decision pretty much ever. I think the only chance, which I'm giving it a 2 out of 10 that this fight goes to decision, is that Dusko, holds him up against the fence and kind of makes it like a boring fight, But I love those spots. The 3 other plays that I'm looking to add are Fiorot by KO if it comes out. If it's like close to even money, I think she knocks her out. A pretty high percentage of the time here. Walt Harris by KO plus 275. Very tempted on that. And Tanner Boser or Latifi over 2.5 are the plays that I'm considering. But yeah, those are my plays.
Yeah, I still haven't locked in a lot of mine. Only ones I got locked in so far are the under 2.5 in the Harris Tybura fight and the over 2.5 in the main event, which is minus 110. So I got those 2 locked in. I haven't yet, but I'm going to lock in Jones and the under in the Rodrigues Dusko fight. Try to get that parlayed up, -108. And then I'm waiting. It's Amirkhani Kirk. That's my spot. I've been waiting for that all week, so I'm waiting for that one. I'm waiting for the under in the Fiorot fight as well, which isn't out of my book. And then there's one more. Oh, I was going to probably throw in that Zalal submission because I think plus 800 is a bit crazy. But no, those are my spots. I have, and Leavitt inside the distance at plus 225. No, sorry, plus 125.
Sounds like, yeah, I like those spots. I like those spots a bunch. Okay, so just to conclude the stream, we're trying through the most confident picks and best dogs. So Claudio Puelles versus, so here, you're on Leavitt pretty confidently. I'm not. I don't really have a confident pick here. I think Puelles could be a live dog. Honestly, I'm plus at the number. I don't think the line should be this wide, in my opinion. Zalal versus Woodson. I think Zalal could be live, but I do side with the favorite here. Furio and Zalal sub could happen. I think Furio is my most confident pick on the card. I just don't think Ricci's ready for this level. All the arguments you were using for Fiorot against Morose are gone out the window now. So I think Fiorot completely rolls here. Same with Jones. I'm sure we're both on the same thing there. Yep. I think Trinaldo could be live here, man. I'm not going to pick him to win. I think Salikhov wins, but this line's way too wide in my opinion. Way too wide, in my opinion.
I might. What's Salikhov by KO? Because I might.
They don't have props.
Oh yeah, that's so okay. Well, that's another one I was looking at. So I'll wait for that. I have 3 plays, but they're not out yet. That's fun.
Yeah, it's so annoying. Boser Latifi. Again, Latifi over could be live if he uses that, but I like the over 2.5. De La Rosa, honestly, up there with my most confident pick. I think my 3 most confident undoubtedly are Fiorot, Jones, and De La Rosa. I just don't see them losing. I think Kirk is live here, man. I really hope I'm right. At the worst, I hope he makes it competitive and I'm not just sounding stupid. But I like Kirk. I think he could be live. Arroyo could be live because it's Tom Breeze, but I think Breeze rolls. Rodrigues could be live. Ponzi, a lot of these dogs could be like, they're all live. I just side with the favorites. Like I think Rodrigues is live, but I side with Dusko. I think Ponzi is live, but I side with Baeza. I think Dolidze is the side. I think Staropoli is live, but I lean with Dolidze. I think Walt Harris is live. I think Augusto Sakai is live. Man, it's such a weird card, such a sketchy card, honestly.
I'm looking forward to it, though. I had the nice week off, and the next week's card is a banger. I have more plays locked in for next week than I do for this week, so let's get that one going.
Yeah, I'm super pumped up. I'm gonna start getting on that tape soon, but yeah, that's gonna be it for this. Hope to make some money at UFC Vegas 28, taking off a week. Currently running a 2-fight win streak myself, so hoping to extend it to 3. And yeah, let them know where let the people know where they can find you if they're watching.
Yeah, at Gordo Gambles on Twitter. I'm about to go release some NBA lineups for DraftKings today. Trying to keep that going. I also bet on the MLB, NHL, and NBA things as well. I'm on I profited 7 in the last 8 days, so I'm looking to keep that going. And yeah, I'm excited for this thing as well. Luckily, my NBA and MLB bets have made up for my Felicia Spencer disaster from last week. But we're still rolling. I'm looking forward to this card. Thanks for having me on again.
Problem, man.
Make sure everybody, he's doing a prop shot thing later. I will not be in it, but I will be supporting in the comments. You get that going. And yeah, thanks for having me on.
Problem, man. All right. Always bet on yourself, and see you next time.